Megan here is a popular blogger from New York.
Hello.
Today, she's meeting her bestie, Rosie, in her favorite cafe.
Hello.
They're both on a diet, so they only order herbal tea and a piece of chocolate cheesecake to share. Megan and Rosie have a great time together and post some food pictures. But an hour later, Rosie faints. Doctors reveal that she was poisoned. Let's take a look at Megan's post. Can you figure out where the poison was? Rosie put sugar in her tea, and Megan didn't, so the poison was in the sugar packet. After taking care of Rosie, Megan's finally headed home. The door in her apartment building has a combination lock, and someone has recently changed the 4-digit password. Luckily, Megan finds a hint nearby. Can you help her figure out the new code? Multiply the first and last number. Then multiply the second and the third number. And the code is 2516. Megan goes up to her apartment. There's a stunning sunset going on out the window. She takes 2 pictures for her Instagram. Can you find 5 differences between them? Ready to see the differences? Here they are. Megan decides to eat some snacks and watch the videos of her favorite bloggers. One of these 2 ladies is a millionaire, while the other one is broke.
Oh.
Can you guess who is who? The second lady is broke. Can you see the Eiffel Tower and Big Ben in the background? She can't be in Paris and in London at the same time, can she? So her photo is fake, as well as her fancy lifestyle. Megan gets some cheesy comments from one of her subscribers,
What?
Evil Eye. But she doesn't take it seriously. She spends a great night with her friends. Late at night, Megan is walking back home alone. Suddenly, Evil Eye appears right in front of her. He grabs Megan and puts her into the trunk of his car. Megan faints. After a while, she wakes up in a basement and sees her fan drawing some sort of a flower on the floor. He says, 2 letters are missing here. Guess which ones and I'll set you free. If you don't, you'll stay here forever. Can you help Megan out? The missing letters are M and E. Megan returns home and discovers that someone has stolen her laptop. Well, this just isn't her day, is it? She calls the police and they interrogate 3 neighbors. Holly says, I was cleaning my apartment with loud music playing, so I didn't hear anything suspicious. Paul said, I was walking my dog for the last 2 hours. We just returned home. Everything looked as usual. And Alex said, I spent the whole day at home. I only went out once, about an hour ago, to take out my trash. I noticed a strange guy in a hoodie at your door, but he left very quickly. Who's lying? Alex. He said he had taken out the trash, but take a look at his trash can. It's still full. The next day, Megan gets good news from the police. They caught Evil Eye, and he's in jail now.
Oh, yes.
He insists that the officer should give this note to Megan, but she has no clue what this means. What about you? Ready to see the solution? The note literally says, jailbreak at 11 a.m. Yay! Megan's favorite blogger has just posted a What I Ate in a Day video.
Oh, yes.
See if you can spot anything odd here. Wow, she keeps a saw in the fridge.
Oh, my God.
Here's the next video. Can you spot any mistakes? Yep, this rainbow is fake. Today is Megan's 30th birthday. She's been preparing for a party for weeks. She bought a beautiful dress, cooked plenty of food, and decorated the apartment. A lot of friends are invited, including Megan's boyfriend, Jeff. Before the event, he calls Megan, saying, "I'm in the office right now, but I promise to be at your place at 8 o'clock." Jeff comes home at 8:05. He brings flowers, a birthday cake, and a diamond necklace. But Megan is really mad. She throws the flowers into his face and bursts into tears. Why? Megan was expecting him to arrive at 8 p.m., but he came at 8 a.m. the next morning. In the evening, Megan decides to go buy some ice cream. She walks towards her favorite corner store on the block. Megan meets the owner of this store, Ted, on the street. Masked man has just robbed the store and took all the cash. Megan explores the space and the broken shelves. Then she says, "I don't think it was just an ordinary robbery. The thief must be your enemy."
Oh, really?
How did she know? Take a closer look at the floor. The salt packages have been torn. Also, the thief opened the bottles so that the oil would leak out on the floor. Why would an ordinary thief waste time opening the bottles? Therefore, they had an intention to cause as much damage as possible. Megan takes Ted out for coffee to cheer him up. The waiter brings them 2 identical servings. Well, almost identical. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Megan gets an invitation to a fancy party for bloggers.
Yes!
Only those who can crack this maze will actually find a way in. Can you help Megan reach the party? She should choose the 3rd route. Megan reaches the final destination. There are 3 doors, all covered with graffiti. Can you help her guess where the party is taking place? Let's take a closer look at the lettering on the doors. If we replace each letter with the previous one in the alphabet, we'll get party, toilet, and exit. Therefore, Megan should enter the first door. Security guards at the party got a report. Several criminals are planning to get in. That's why they scan everyone's bags very carefully. They find 3 suspicious people and arrest them. But one of them is innocent. Can you guess who? The second lady carries too many phones in her bag. A couple of smartphones and 1 old-fashioned button phone. As for the third guy, why would a bald man need shampoo at a party? It seems only the first lady isn't a criminal. Megan enters the party and goes to the bathroom to refresh her makeup. There, she meets 3 pretty ladies. 2 of them are vampires. Can you tell who's not? This lady who's standing next to Megan is a human because she has a reflection. Therefore, the 2 others are vampires. Megan wants to rent a cozy cabin to spend a weekend in the woods. She's looking through a special app and finds 4 available options, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Megan make the right decision? The second house looks pretty cozy, but there's a creepy clown hiding behind the tree. And the price is suspiciously low. According to the info box, the 3rd house was built 9 centuries ago, but it looks pretty modern, so it's probably a scam. The 4th house is chic and high-tech, but the window glass is covered with cracks, which is not safe at all. so Megan should choose the first cabin. Finally, it's the weekend. Megan hits the road to go to the cabin. On the way, she makes a stop to visit the local farmer's market. Megan picks some lemons. She wants to pay, but her phone is gone. She interrogates 3 people standing nearby. Kim says, "I didn't touch your phone. I was too busy selling my tomatoes." Magna says, "I was taking pictures of my shop for social media. See for yourself if you don't believe me." And Bianca says, "I think it was Kim. Her business has not been going well recently." After hearing what they had to say, Megan knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Check out Magnus's basket with vegetables. He hid Megan's phone among the carrots. Megan orders a beverage at the local coffee shop and looks around.
Hello.
One of the customers is not human. Can you figure out who? The waitress. Her eyes are blinking red. Maybe she didn't get a tip. There was a heist in the Great Museum of Art. A very valuable and important painting was stolen. A detective investigated the crime scene and managed to find the person who had stolen the painting. However, when the detective asked the thief to give it back, the criminal gave him 3 copies of the same painting. He refused to tell the police which one was original. But the detective immediately figured it out. How do you think he did it? Do you see that each painting has a different frame? But only one of them is similar to the frames of other paintings in the museum. And since this museum is known to use the same style of frames, this one is the original painting. Jeremy was accepted to the best school of witchcraft and wizardry. One of the classes he had to take was about transforming into animals. 3 professors taught that class, and each of them specialized in transforming into one certain animal. Can you tell which professor turns into what kind of animal? Do you see that the first professor has a forked tongue? She must transform into a snake. Have you noticed that the second professor has a lion's tail? Her animal must be a lion. And do you see bear claws the third professor has? Then he must turn into a grizzly bear. Tony was going to study abroad for 1 semester. He flew into another country, found his new dorm where he was going to stay, and unpacked his stuff. Then he called his parents to inform them he'd arrived. They asked him, "What time is it there?" Tony was pretty tired and jet-lagged, so he couldn't immediately tell what time it was. Can you help Tony figure out the time? Look, the Eiffel Tower and Sydney Opera House views are just posters, but you can actually see Mount Fuji through the window. So, Tony is in Tokyo, and it's 8:45 there. Carly, Zoe woke up one day and found themselves in a weird place that looked like a jail. Which of them will be able to escape? Carly can escape because the bars of her prison cell are made of wax. She'll be able to use the candle on the floor behind her back to melt them. Zoe can also escape. Do you see several rats in the corner that are munching on the bars? It's because the bars of the girl's cell are made of salted breadsticks, and she can eat them and escape. Isabella was a princess and the heir to the throne. One day, an evil witch lured her into an enchanted forest so that she could take over the kingdom. Isabella got lost, but fortunately, she had a magic pendant. The king's magician gave it to her some time ago, claiming it would help her find her way back if she ever got lost. She used the pendant, and 3 spirit animals appeared. The first spirit animal was an owl. The second one was a butterfly, and the third spirit animal was a hawk. Only one of them knew the way back to the castle. But if Isabella chose to follow the wrong animal, she would find herself even further away from her kingdom. Which spirit animal should she follow? Have you noticed the kingdom banner in the throne room? It has a butterfly on it, so it's the official symbol of this kingdom. Isabella should follow the butterfly. Toby was a rich businessman. One day, he came back home from a dinner party and saw that somebody had broken into his house and stolen his expensive watch from his safe. He called the police. They investigated the crime scene and found 3 suspects. Gordon said that at that time, he'd been at home trying to make his teenage kids go to bed. Danny said he'd spent the whole night at a party with his friends. And Matt claimed that he'd been at a movie theater watching a new superhero movie between 12 and 2 a.m. The police immediately realized who'd broken into Toby's house and stolen the watch. Have you figured it out? It was Matt. When Toby arrived home, it was 11:30 p.m., so it doesn't matter where Matt was between 12 and 2 a.m. Elliot was a crazy scientist who was obsessed with the idea of parallel universes. He dedicated his whole life to figuring out how to create portals to other dimensions. One day, he finally succeeded in building a portal machine. When he tried to test it, 3 portals appeared in front of him. And then the machine just blew up. And since he had meddled with the laws of physics, the universe where he lived started to collapse. The scientist had to choose one of the portals to escape through, and fast. The first portal opened to the universe in which Elliot was a supervillain. The second portal opened in the world in which the man was a ruthless king. The third portal opened on the planet where Elliot was an underwater creature. Which portal should he choose? Do you see the portal machine the supervillain Elliot is holding? It's the same as the one that destroyed itself. Apparently, supervillain Elliot is a scientist as well. He might be able to help the real Elliot to bring his original universe back by making a better portal machine. Sally was at a crowded concert. Suddenly, she felt somebody reaching into her bag and pulling out her wallet that only had her credit cards inside. She couldn't see who the person was, but after checking the footage from the surveillance cameras, security guards were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Joshua said he had been sharing concert videos on his social media and didn't have anything to do with the theft. Jennifer said she was super rich and didn't need anyone else's wallet with credit cards. She only used cash when she went shopping. Penny said she had been singing along to the song the band had been playing, so she didn't even know what had happened. The security guards immediately figured out who the thief was. Who stole Sally's wallet? Nobody told Jennifer that the wallet contained only credit cards, but somehow she still knew it. She must have stolen it. Mary found a new job in another city, so she had to move. The realtor found 3 options for Mary to choose from and took her to see each of them. First, she brought Mary to apartment number 1, which was located downtown. Second, she took the woman to apartment number 2, which was within walking distance of a subway station. After that, she took Mary to apartment number 3, which was next to a grocery store. Which apartment should Mary choose? Since apartment number 1 has a rat living in it, and apartment number 3 has a crack in one of the walls, Mary should choose apartment number 2. Miss Sanders took her students camping at the weekend. She wanted to tell them about forest plants. During the trip, one of the students wandered off and got lost in the forest. Hours passed, but he couldn't find his way back. The guy felt very hungry, but he didn't have any food with him. That was when he saw 3 different bushes with 3 different kinds of berries in front of him. Only one type of berries was safe to eat, and the other 2 were poisonous. Which berry should he eat as he's waiting to be rescued? Remember the poster that was in the classroom? It stated that these 2 kinds of berries were poisonous, so only these ones are safe to eat. Sandy was driving across the country to visit her family. She was tired of being on the road and wanted to take a break. She saw a diner and stopped there to have something to eat and rest. The diner looked empty, old, and dirty. The waitress told her there were only 3 meal options to choose from and asked her which one she wanted to eat. So, which one looks safe to eat? Do you see the fumes coming from the first meal? They're green. That can't be a good sign. And the third meal has a little bug on it. Yikes! So Sandy should eat the second meal and get the heck out of there. Audrey won the Best Actress Award at a film festival. But when she left the stage and went to give an interview to the reporters, her award was stolen. A police officer arrived and found 3 suspects. The first suspect was Grace, a cleaning lady. She said she had been taking selfies with her favorite celebrities backstage and didn't have anything to do with the award. The second suspect was Gabrielle, a reporter. She said she had stolen the award because she had been with other reporters waiting for her turn to ask Audrey some questions. The third suspect was Catherine, an actress. She said she was not the one who had stolen the award because she'd been among guests watching the show. Besides, she already won the Best Actress Award last year. The police officer knew who was lying. And you? Take a closer look at the selfie Grace took. You can see Catherine behind, sneaking away with the award. Oliver was attacked in his flat and taken to the hospital. There are 4 suspects, all of them Oliver's neighbors. Wow, I'd find another apartment. Amelia said she'd been walking in the park since early morning. Henry explained he had been painting in his studio and had heard nothing. Jacob said he had been repairing his car. Sophia answered she'd been taking a bath for the past 3 hours. Look at these people's hands and try to figure out who's lying. It's a bit strange that Jacob, who was repairing his car, and Henry, who was painting, both have such clean hands. But they could be wearing gloves. On the other hand, Sophia's hands and fingers don't have wrinkles. But it would be a natural skin reaction after 3 hours in a bathtub. Sophia, you've been caught smooth-handed. The police found out there was a new smuggler in town. 3 people were under suspicion: Luna, a school bus driver, Jackson, a fire truck driver, and Daniel, an ambulance driver. All of them claimed to have been busy with their work since the very morning. Can you figure out who's the smuggler? Look at the car Daniel drives. On such vehicles, the word ambulance is normally written backward. It's done so that other drivers can instantly read the inverted word in their rearview mirrors. Well, it seems Daniel has given himself away. It was the day when Jacob was supposed to be discharged from the hospital. He had spent a couple of months there and underwent several surgeries. His doctor told him he was going to be fine. It was safe for Jacob to leave the hospital. But the guy didn't believe these promises. In low spirits, he walked home. On the way, he accidentally bumps into an elderly lady. She gets furious and started to shout at Jacob. But instead of arguing back, he hugged the woman and ran home. Why? Jacob had hearing loss. He didn't believe his problem could be helped. But when he heard the woman shouting at him, he realized the doctor had told him the truth. Maybe the doctor should have shouted. Chloe stayed late at the office that day. When she was driving home, the woman was worn out. At one moment, she even started to doze off. That's when it happened. She spun off the road and crashed through the fence that was on her way. She couldn't control the car anymore. It slipped down a steep hill and ended up in a lake. Chloe couldn't move her arms, they were stuck. She couldn't undo her seatbelt or open the door. The car sank to the bottom of the lake. Was Chloe doomed? Rescuers arrived 3 hours later. The woman was still in the car, but she was alive. How did she survive? After the car hit the bottom of the lake, the water only came up to Chloe's throat. It was a very shallow lake. Good thing, huh? It was Jack's birthday, and the fellow got a present he had been dreaming about for ages – a motorbike. The next morning, he rode his bike to college and left it at the parking lot. During lunchtime, Jack decided to check on his motorbike. Imagine his horror when he found out someone had broken the mirrors. The security guard told Jack only 3 other people had left his building in the afternoon. They were Owen and Sam, 2 best friends, and Layla, the girl who once liked Jack but got turned down by him. Owen said he and Sam had gone to the campus cafe to get sandwiches for lunch. Sam confirmed this. He then added the bike could have been damaged by Layla out of revenge. But Layla told Jack her mother had visited her and they had spent 2 hours together. So, who's lying? Owen has a paper bag with food delivery written on it. It means the guys ordered their lunch, not bought it in the cafe. They broke Jack's mirrors and tried to frame Layla. Not a good reflection on them, huh? Detective Taylor was chasing a dangerous criminal. Suddenly, the man entered a hospital. Oh no, there are hundreds of rooms there. Luckily, it was raining, and the criminal left footprints on the hospital floor. The detective followed them and got into a small room. There were 3 people there, all covered in bandages from head to toe. But one of them was a fake patient. Who? It was the dude in the middle. He didn't even have a medical chart next to his bed. Very quick job on the bandages, though. The CEO of a large company called the police. He was sure that one of his employees, Victoria, had stolen a memory card with secret information. She was going to sell it to their competitors. The police arrived at Victoria's house, but the woman didn't let them in without a warrant. The officers had to leave to get all the necessary papers. By the time they were back, Victoria had already been sitting in her car, ready to drive off. The police officers arrested the woman. They searched her car and clothes, but found nothing. And then, when they were about to give up, one of the detectives realized where Victoria kept the memory card. Can you figure it out? When the police first came to her, the woman had her hair down. But after that, Victoria changed her hairstyle. The memory card is in her bun. Yep, Victoria and her sticky bun. Michael was going home from the gym when everything went black. When he regained consciousness, he found out he was in a locked room. Next to the door, there was a computer with a keyboard. On the screen, there was a riddle. Michael had to write the correct answer and the door would open. The riddle went like this. It makes 2 people out of 1. What is it? Michael typed the needed word and the door opened. He was free to go. What was the answer? It's a mirror. Oh, I was guessing a buzzsaw, but this one is better and not as messy. 2 best friends, Emily and Luna, came to a popular and expensive hair salon. At first, the administrator told the girls they had just one available hairstylist. But after making a phone call, she happily announced she had found another hairdresser. Emily and Luna could have their hair done at the same time. But in the process, it dawned on the girls that one of the hairstylists was fake. Which one? Both hairstylists are using regular scissors, but instead of hairspray, the one on the left is holding a can of bug spray. Yeah, that's a big clue right there. A man on a bike grabbed Sarah's bag with all her documents, money, and smartphone and sped off. The only way the girl can get her bag back is by taking someone's car and driving after the criminal. There are 3 vehicles parked nearby. Which one can Sarah break into and drive off? Borrow. A man is sitting in the blue car. That's no good. If she decides to take the red car, CCTV will spot her. Her only option is the brown vehicle. Oh, and Sarah, don't forget to return the wheels when you get your bag back, otherwise you'll be Grand Theft Sarah. Mary and her younger brother Alex were mushroom hunting in the forest. Wait, mushroom hunting? What do you do, sneak up on them so they don't escape? Anyway, they started a quarrel. Alex got angry and ran away. After several minutes, Mary rushed after him. She was still fuming, but also worried. Soon, the girl reached a small river. A man was sitting on the shore. Did you see a teenager here?" Mary asked. "Yep, he's just taken a boat and made it to the other side." But Mary didn't believe the man. Why? The boat is indeed on the other side, but the paddles are lying next to the man. How could the boy cross the river without them? So, where's Alex? Kidnapped by the escaped mushrooms? We may never know. Ella came to a party that took place in her best friend's house. It was a riddle party. All the guests had to crack mysteries and participate in different challenges. Ella's task was to get out of a locked room in the basement. The girl was blindfolded, taken downstairs, and left alone. After pulling the piece of cloth off her eyes, Ella noticed the door had a code lock. She also spotted a sheet of paper lying on the floor next to the door. There were 4 flowers drawn there. Ella looked at them for a while and entered the correct code. The door opened and the girl joined the party. So, what was the code? Ella counted the petals on each flower. The code was 5748. Carter was visiting his friend Mateo, who lived in another city. Mateo loved riddles. In the evening, he challenged Carter to get the key to the guest room where the guy was supposed to be sleeping. Mateo dropped the key in the bucket filled with cold water and told Carter to get it. But he couldn't touch the water or use anything to pull the key out. That night, Carter slept in the guest room. How did he get the key? He put the bucket over a fire. The water started to boil and soon evaporated. After that, Carter picked the key up. Mateo was steamed. Nora was an insurance agent. Once, her client called her early in the morning. The woman was in tears. At night, someone had broken into her house. By the time the woman had enough courage to go downstairs, the thief had already taken all the valuables. When she looked out of the window, the man was running away. "Do you remember what he looked like?" Nora asked. The client answered, "It was still dark outside. I understood it was a man, tall and thin. He had dark hair and was wearing a V-neck t-shirt." Nora immediately realized her client had staged the burglary. How did she figure it out? It was dark, and the man was running away from the client's house. Then how could the woman see he was wearing a V-neck t-shirt? Beats me. Hey there, kiddo. Time to shake the rust off your magnifying glass and put on your detective hat. Yeah, you look good in it, trust me. Ready? Let's go. Luke took part in a scientific experiment, but something went wrong. He ended up in a place where there was nothing but 3 portals. One of them led to a polar desert in Antarctica. The second one opened into a volcanic crater filled with molten lava. And behind the third portal, there was the dinosaur age, with huge diplodocuses roaming around. Which portal should the man choose? Luke would freeze in no time in a polar desert. Molten lava isn't even an option. But diplodocuses are totally harmless to people. They only eat plants. Luke just needs to stay out of their way. Martin was playing tennis with his friend David. At one point, he hit the ball a little bit too hard. The ball flew into the air and fell down a hollow fence post. The post was quite narrow, and the ball barely fit there, but still, it got to the very bottom. Try as he might, Martin couldn't get the ball out of the pipe. Luckily, David had an idea. In no time, the guy helped Martin get the ball back. How did he do it? David used a water hose lying nearby. He filled the pipe with water, and the ball floated up. Once, a prison guard accidentally overheard very disturbing rumors. Someone was planning a prison break. The guard watched all the footage from the surveillance cameras and discovered that 2 women had been behaving suspiciously. One of them was a former bodybuilder, muscular with short hair and covered in tattoos. The other was quiet and reserved. She preferred to spend time on her own. After watching the video several times, the guard managed to figure out which woman was planning to escape. Can you do the same? It's the second prisoner. If you look attentively, you'll notice a file in her bun. She can use it to cut through the metal bars. Rachel called the police early in the morning. When they arrived, she told the officers her story. "I work in a museum. Yesterday, I took home several ancient books. I wanted to do some research. But then a blackout happened. I lit a couple of candles and continued my work. Suddenly, I heard the doorbell ring. When I opened the door, someone in a black mask hit me on the head. When I recovered, the books were gone." Detective Anderson arrested the woman for misreporting. Why? If there had been a blackout, the doorbell wouldn't have been working. Look at these photos. One of them is photoshopped. Can you figure out which one? It's the picture in the middle. The kite is moving in the wrong direction. If the photo was real, the kite would be moving along with the wind in the same direction as the flag. Look at these guys. Who is actually poor? The guy in the blue shirt. Both men are looking into the mirror. But even though in the mirror the guy on the left is a seemingly successful businessman, in reality he's poor. A police officer was patrolling the streets on a winter evening. Suddenly, she saw a person in a black mask sneaking out of a house through the window, who was carrying 2 large bags. The officer realized it was a burglar. She ran after the criminal, but they turned the corner and disappeared. The officer understood the criminal had hidden in one of these houses. But which one? It can't be the house on the left. As you see, there are too many people inside. There are no footprints in the snow leading to the house on the right. It means no one has been there for quite some time, which leaves us with the house in the middle. There are 4 cups on the counter, all of them upturned and hiding the same number of sweets underneath. Near each of the cups, there is a sign that says how many sweets are under it. The signs are 5 or 6, 7 or 8, 6 or 7, and 7 or 5. Only one of these signs is correct. How many sweets are there under each cup? Since only one sign is correct, the right number can't appear twice. Otherwise, more than one sign would be correct. It means that there are 8 sweets under each cup. Mark's math teacher was very displeased with how many classes the guy had missed, but he decided to give the student one last chance. If you solve this riddle, I won't inform your parents. You need to write 45 only using the number 4. How can Mark do it? Like this: 44 divided by 44 plus 44. During which month do people sleep the least? During February. It only has 28 or sometimes 29 days. After a bank had been robbed, the police found a bag with money in the park. It was lying among cacti. The police officers arrested 3 suspects. It didn't take long to figure out who the bank robber was. Do you know who it is? It's the man on the left. He's the only one with some scratches. They must have been left by the cacti. You have 5 pieces of a chain, and each of them is made up of 3 links. You have to make a long chain out of these 5 pieces. Welding an open link will cost you $3, and breaking a link open is $1. Can you make a long chain if you only have $15? First, take one piece of chain and break all of its 3 links open. That'll cost you $3. Then, link the remaining 4 pieces of the chain with these open links. Welding these links will cost you another $9. In total, you'll only pay $12. Thomas was a traveler who needed to get to town X. Sometime into his journey, he reached a fork in the road. He didn't know which road to pick. Only one way led to the town. Luckily, he saw 2 men standing by. The problem was that one of them always lied, and the other one always told the truth. But Thomas didn't know who was who. Even worse, the men were quite unfriendly and agreed to answer only one question. So, which question should it be? The only way to find out the right road is to ask the men, if I asked the person standing next to you which road led to town X, what would his answer be? The liar will point in the wrong direction. The man who always tells the truth will also point in the same wrong direction. This way, Thomas will just need to choose the other road. You're going home in the evening. At one point, you turn the corner and everything goes black. When you come to your senses, you find yourself in a locked room. Next to the door, there's a computer with a keyboard. On the screen, there's a riddle. You have to type the correct answer, and the door will open. The riddle sounds like this. It makes 2 people out of 1. What is it? Can you figure out the answer? The correct answer is a mirror. Joanna made a bet with her friends. She had to go to a deserted house in the middle of their town at night. No one lived there, and the house was supposed to be demolished soon. But rumor had it a mad scientist used that building as his lab. It was about 3 a.m. when the girls saw a large, gloomy building with its entrance door slightly ajar. She entered and saw a huge, dark hallway. Suddenly, someone switched on the light, and Joanna saw a bizarre-looking man in a lab coat. He stood there and stared at her for a few seconds before saying, "Good morning, I'm Dr. Clark." "But you aren't real," Joanna exclaimed. How did the girl figure it out? Even though the scientist had a reflection in the mirror, he didn't cast a shadow. It was a hologram. Today, we trek into a mysterious cave teeming with treacherous traps. They will test how your brain works in extreme conditions. And if you pass them all and come out alive, congrats! You have ultimate survival skills. Please remember to share your results in the comments. Here we go. You enter the cave and find yourself in a pretty large hall where strange little people in weird masks meet and greet you. They take you to a table in the middle of the hall, and they seat you in front of it, gently but firmly. One of the masked individuals puts 3 muffins on the table before you. You're pleasantly surprised by their hospitality, but they start sneering under the masks, and you realize there's something wrong with the treats. It's the first trap. The person who laid out the muffins on the table explains what's inside the muffins in a creaky voice. The first one has some boiled nettle leaves in it. The second one is swarming with live ants. And the third one is seemingly filled with chocolate, but it's actually mud. So, which one would you choose to eat? Well, live ants and mud are a no-go for sure. Even though ants might actually be edible, who knows what species they belong to? And it's also yucky, truth be told. But surprisingly, boiled nettle leaves are a-okay to eat, despite nettle being a plant that burns your skin upon touch. It only does so when it's fresh. Boiled leaves lose their burning quality, and nettle soup is an actual dish in many cultures, so we settle for the nettles. You've happily wolfed down the nettle muffin, quite yummy by the way, and the little masked people let you through to the next chamber. As you walk down the hall, suddenly the floor starts shaking, and before you can leap to safety, it crumbles beneath your feet, falling down and taking you with it. You hit the floor, rise to your feet, and when the dust settles, you see you've ended up in a room with 3 doors. Great, it's another trap. Each door has a warning sign on it, and there's also a panel with 3 levers marked A, B, and C, of course. Each of the levers opens a specific combination of doors, not just a single one. The sign on the first door says it contains swarms of mosquitoes just waiting to drink you dry. There is toxic gas behind the second door, which will fill the chamber you're in as soon as you open the door. And the third door releases a powerful stream of water that will wash away everything it hits, but it will only last 30 seconds. The A lever opens the mosquito door and the gas door. Lever B will open the gas door and the water door. And the C lever will release the stream of water and the mosquitoes. Oh goody. Which one would you pull? If you chose the C lever, you're either fortunate or have outstanding survival instincts. This combination will get you out of the trap. 30 seconds of a mighty torrent are just enough to get rid of any swarm of mosquitoes. The water and gas combo would do nothing useful, as the gas would not be washed away. And as for gas plus mosquitoes, well, you might get rid of the insects, but it wouldn't save you from the gas either. Now you dry yourself as you can after the shower and walk out of the room you were trapped in, waiting for another trap to show up. Bang! A huge boulder falls right behind you and starts rolling your way. You run away from it and duck into an alcove in the wall to your side. The boulder rolls past and you sigh in relief. You walk further and reach a straight hallway with rounded walls and a ceiling that slopes downwards. With a thunderous crash, another boulder smashes through the ceiling and comes barreling towards you fast. The boulder fits the tunnel perfectly, and there's no hiding place to get away from it now. A few feet ahead of you are a series of tripwires that stretch from floor to ceiling close to each other. They're very sensitive, and each one will cause a bottomless pit to open right beneath your feet if you touch it. To your left is another alcove in the wall, but if you attempt to squeeze into it, the boulder will press you with some force against the wall as it passes, and the wall has nails sticking out of it from floor to ceiling. Down by your feet is a hole in the floor, but it's only a couple of inches deep. On the bright side, there are no nails in it. So, what's your choice? A. Try to slip between the tripwires. B. Squeeze yourself into the nailed wall. Or C. Lie down in the hole in the floor. Even if you're skinny enough to gingerly slip past the tripwires without touching them, it requires some time to do so, and you don't have that luxury. The boulder is rolling right behind you, remember? Also, there's a very high risk of activating the wires and getting flung into the abyss. The hole in the floor looks like the safest option, but it's only a couple of inches deep. Unless you're just a couple of inches thick yourself, you have every chance of becoming so, thanks to the boulder behind your back. In fact, the alcove in the wall with the nails in it is your only chance of survival. Remember yogis and magicians who can sit on a bed of nails without any harm? They can do that because the principles of pressure work in this case. Pressure is force divided by area. The larger the area, the less the force, and vice versa. So, even if you're pressed against the nails in the wall pretty hard, they won't even break your skin because the surface area of your body is large enough to prevent that. Whew! You take a deep breath after the boulder rolls past you and go down the passage to find yourself in the next chamber. The first thing you see is a door with a large lock at the other end of the room and a timer right above it. It shows 60 minutes, and the countdown starts as soon as you enter the chamber. There, you notice 3 large transparent jars on the right-hand wall. Each of them contains a key, which seems to fit the lock on the door. But there's an unpleasant surprise in each of the jars, too. The first jar has venomous snakes inside, the second one is full of acid, and the third one is filled with boiling hot water. You have nothing to use to get the keys out of the jar but your own hands, and the timer goes on ticking. Which jar should you choose? Snakes won't bite unless you scare them, and trying to get the key from their jar definitely qualifies as a scary action, so don't even try that one. Acid isn't an excellent choice either, obviously. The timer is actually a hint. Hot water cools down with time, and an hour is more than enough for it to become lukewarm. Just wait until it's cool enough to be bearable and get that key. You happily open the door and find yourself in an open, sunny glade somewhere deep in the unknown woods. You've made it out, but how do you get back home? In the sky, you see a helicopter flying by. It seems they don't see you. The chopper almost flies away, and you need to do something quick to make the pilot notice you. In the grass in front of you, there's a box of matches, a pile of large twigs, and a pocket mirror. What should you do? Well, you don't have time to build a fire. Your best bet is the mirror. Catch a ray of sunlight and point its reflection at the helicopter, trying to hit the windscreen with it. Yes, you've been spotted! The pilot brings the chopper down, and you've successfully escaped the treacherous cave. Okay, fess up. What's your result? When it was finally time to board the plane, it turned out that there were no more economy class seats left. Kim and Ashley were offered to fly in business class.
Oh, yes.
There, the girls saw 3 people. When the flight attendant served them fresh juice, she whispered that Kim and Ashley were extremely lucky. They were about to travel next to a famous Italian billionaire.
Oh.
Can you guess which of these passengers is the billionaire? This glamorous lady is a good candidate, but it's very unlikely a billionaire would wear a 100% polyester coat. This guy's business suit is very elegant, but look at his shoes. They seem quite cheap and worn out. This funny gentleman must be the real billionaire. Although his outfit is rather casual, his gold watch looks very expensive. The glamorous lady began to chat with Kim and Ashley. She told them she had recently visited an exotic island with her friends. Then she showed the girls some pictures. When the lady went to the restroom, Ashley whispered to Kim, "This woman is a liar. She photoshopped this picture."
Oh.
How did Ashley know that? It's all about the shadows. They all look natural, except this one. People are sitting in their seats. The lights turn off. Someone is chewing popcorn. Someone is drinking soda. The movie starts. This is a horror movie. Someone screams. The ticket taker enters the hall. Several people haven't paid for their tickets. Guess who? No one has a ticket here. Free entrance, the note pinned to the back door claims. Once, on a cold winter night, someone stole jewelry from a famous singer's house. The thief didn't manage to run far away because a police car was passing by. The burglar hid the bag with the jewelry in the snow and disappeared into the crowd. Detective Anderson managed to catch two suspects. Look at them and try to guess who robbed the singer. If you dig snow with your bare hands, they will turn red. This man has red fingers and palms. But that woman could dig snow wearing a pair of gloves, so she could be the thief too. But she wouldn't be able to run in such high heels. After the meeting, Zoe unboxed a delivery from a popular writer. He sent Zoe his new masterpiece in secret. Zoe didn't say anything about this to her colleagues. But one of them was actually trying to steal the script. Can you guess who this person is? It's the assistant. He's using his front camera to take pictures of the mirrored ceiling while Zoe is looking through the script. You're walking along the beach. Suddenly, you hear a scream. A woman is calling for help. She's drowning. You run into the water and swim toward her. As soon as you approach her, you see three more people. They're all screaming, but only one of them needs help. The rest are mer people who want to take you to their kingdom. How can you find out which one is human? Dive under the water to see who has a fishtail. Richard likes abandoned buildings and old castles. Today, he's going to check a huge house that belonged to a vampire a long time ago. Well, that's what the legends say. Richard certainly doesn't believe this. He takes his camera and sets off. It's dark and cold inside the house. Crackling sounds are coming from the corridor. Richard shines a flashlight and sees three vampires. Richard starts running away, but then he stops and returns. It seems these vampires are fake. How did the guy understand this? There's a mirror on the ceiling above the first vampire, and he gets reflected there. The second vampire has no fangs. The third one? Uh-oh, he seems to be real. Better run. Now, Richard wants to visit an abandoned hospital. There are rumors that werewolves live there. Richard is sure it's a myth. He's walking around dark hospital wards all night, but finds nothing. He's about to leave, but four men block the exit. They are howling and growling. Which of them is the real werewolf? No one. The full moon is shining through the windows, but these people haven't turned into monsters. But still, Richard runs away. It seems these guys are really crazy. A rich man comes to an exhibition of modern art. He's going to buy a new painting for his collection. The owner of the exhibition shows him three works of different artists. In the first picture, there's a green triangle with a sunflower in the middle. The second painting is of a tiger taking a selfie on its phone. In the third picture, there's a flying house. The collector is sure that one of the paintings is fake. Which one? Each canvas has the artist's signature and the date when it was created. The painting with the tiger is dated 1957. There were no mobile phones and selfies at that time. This picture is fake. Martin's nervous because today is his first DJ performance at an electronic music festival. He goes on the stage. The crowd is cheering. Martin puts his headphones on and turns on the first track. Music is playing, but people aren't dancing. Why? The music is only playing in the DJ's headphones. Martin hasn't connected the wire to the speakers, see? Jack is walking through an ancient, abandoned city in the desert. Treasure is hidden somewhere here. Jack checks the map and finds the right place. He starts digging. 6 hours later, exhausted, he hits something with a shovel. It's a chest. Jack pulls it out of the ground, rips off the rusty lock, and opens it. The chest is filled with ancient gold coins. Each of them costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now Jack is incredibly rich. But he shouldn't be happy because all the coins are fake. Why is that? Each coin has a date, 145 BCE. It seems they're really old, but people who lived at that time couldn't write BCE on their coins because they didn't know they lived before the current era. A university professor enters a lecture hall where his colleague, an elderly teacher, is giving a lecture on quantum physics. He's drawing formulas on the board, and his students are using their laptops to take notes. The professor knows that one of these students is sleeping. He starts walking around the room, stopping behind each of them in turn. Who's dreaming right now? Almost all of the students are writing the formulas down in their laptops, except that one. His screen is off. That's because he's fallen asleep. Detective Anderson is chasing a robber dressed in a tuxedo. Suddenly, the criminal runs inside a huge hall. All the people there are formally dressed. Help Detective Anderson find the suspect among them. Catch that guy. He's sweating because he's been running. Leo's boss yelled at the guy because he hadn't completed his weekly work plan. Now, Leo has to spend his entire weekend in the office finishing his work. The boss took Leo's magnetic card so that he couldn't leave the building. Several hours had passed. Leo feels hungry. There's no water or food in the office, but there's a fridge and cooler in the next room behind the door with a magnetic lock. On Monday, Leo gives his boss the completed report. Somehow, the guy managed to get food and water. How did he do it? Leo just went to the refrigerator and got himself some food. No one said the door with a magnetic lock had been locked. Victoria approaches her house. The light bulb turns on automatically and lights her way to the door. Victoria inserts the key and goes inside. A couple of hours later, the doorbell rings. She looks through the peephole and sees a silhouette of a man wearing a hat. Victoria is afraid to open the door, but not because it's a stranger, but because it's not a human. Why does she think that? The light sensor didn't work, so there's no physical body outside. There's a huge airplane hangar on the edge of the desert. Pilot Tyler steps inside and notices a cat sleeping near the ceiling on one of the beams. Tyler decides to save it. There are no stairs and nothing else that can be used to get there. The only thing Tyler sees is a large puddle of water on the floor. How did the cat get there? There was a pyramid of ice cubes. The cat climbed to the top of it and reached the ceiling. Then the ice melted and left the puddle. Gee, I guess I won't mention my theory about the cat drinking so much water to the point of bursting, which then propels the cat up in the air and, well, let's stick with the ice cubes. Margaret, Rachel, and Diana are walking down the street, sharing their plans for the weekend. The girls look rich, but only one of them has a lot of money. Who is it? It's Margaret. You can notice the key to a Ferrari in her bag. Rachel had been dreaming of becoming a famous actress. Finally, her dream was about to come true. A famed talent agency had invited Rachel for an interview. She arrived at the office to meet her new agent early in the morning.
Hello.
There were 4 people in the conference room. Can you tell which one is Rachel's agent? This guy is the only person who doesn't have an employee badge, so he's probably a guest too. This man is wearing a classy, expensive suit, but he brought coffee for everyone. He's an assistant. This lady's mug says "World's Best Lawyer," so she's probably responsible for legal issues. And this relaxed lady over there is Rachel's agent, Zoe. Zoe offered Rachel to take a seat. Which place should Rachel choose? This chair is missing one leg. Someone has spilled coffee on this chair. It has written "The Boss" on the drink in this cup and left it on the table next to this chair. And someone has left a sweater on this chair. So Rachel has only one option. Here it is.
There was an incident in a secret laboratory. One of the scientists released a substance that turned people into vampires. Detective Reed arrived at the scene to interview 3 witnesses. The first scientist, Michael, said, "I stopped by the lab this morning to pick up some notes. The machines were working just fine, and I didn't see anyone. I took the papers and left." The second scientist, Lindsay, said, "I closed the lab at night. One of the PCs was faulty, but I was very tired and decided to leave it till the morning. Unfortunately, I overslept." And the third scientist, Jennifer, said, "I got up early and went to the lab to check the devices. No one seems to have entered the room. I fixed one of the computers and left." Which one of them was lying? Michael is lying. One of the computers was actually faulty, and Jennifer spent the whole morning fixing it. If Michael had walked into the lab, he would have known about it, or Jennifer would have noticed him. So he must have entered the lab after the others had already left. But why would someone release such a dangerous substance? Michael didn't want to confess, so Detective Reed decided to investigate the crime scene to find out who was behind this. Take a look at this picture. Is there anything suspicious? It looks like Michael dropped an ID card. And look, it doesn't belong to him. The name on the card is George Wilson. Let's ask him about the incident. Detective Reed went to Mr. Wilson's office to ask him about the incident. "Oh yeah, I gave my pass to Michael," Mr. Wilson said. "But that's only because I had left something in the lab. My glasses. I didn't have time, so I asked Michael to pick them up." Well, that's not a very clever excuse, but how can you prove the man is lying? There's an open glasses case on the table, and the glasses are inside. But Mr. Wilson, didn't you say that you left them in the lab? "Oh, did I say my glasses? Sorry, I meant my papers. I made this mistake because I asked my secretary Shirley to look for my glasses yesterday." Find something to prove Mr. Wilson is lying. There's a calendar on Shirley's desk. Yesterday was her day off. It's marked red. Mr. Wilson is lying. Mr. Wilson was arrested, but people have already begun to turn into vampires. Can you guess who's actually a vampire? The woman on the right. She's putting on her makeup, but do you see? She isn't reflected in the mirror. Meanwhile, those who haven't turned into vampires gather everything they might need to survive. Which of these people is more likely to stay alive? All these supplies won't protect the guy on the right from vampires. As for the girl on the left, she's stocked up on what she can to defeat the vampires. She has a higher chance of survival. Let's check out the subway. There are 2 women here. Which of them is not pregnant? The girl on the left is not pregnant. Look, her belly is of a very strange shape. That's because she has hidden her survival supplies under her clothes. Vampires decided to throw a party. Who among those present is actually an undercover human? The guy on the left is a human. He's wearing makeup and false teeth. Nikki is also trying to survive. She packs her things and decided to move to a neighboring town. But suddenly, a vampire charged at her car. He damages the vehicle and takes away some supplies. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to bite Nikki. She escapes. Nikki has to stay home. The next day, a young man knocks on her door and asks for help. Is it okay to let him in? Nope. He has the same scar on his cheek like the vampire from the day before. Nikki continues to hide at home. One day, some girl starts knocking on her back door. Please help! A pack of vampires is chasing me! Nikki opens the door. The girl is out of breath, but she manages to say, They're almost here! Can I come in? Is it safe to let her in? No! This girl is a vampire. Anyone in this situation would immediately run inside the house, but vampires can't come in without an invitation. Nikki was checking her house and suddenly noticed that there was someone in the attic. She approached the shadows. It was a father and daughter. Please don't kick us out. Sorry, we snuck in without permission. We've been trying to hide from the vampires. The father said, Is it safe to let them stay? Yes, firstly, they're sitting in the sun, but their skin seems to be okay. Secondly, they managed to enter the house without an invitation. That means they're humans. Nikki let them stay. Let's take a little break. Time for some quick riddles. Think fast. A vampire lived in a 1-story black cottage. He had a black cat, a black fish, a black computer, a black armchair, a black desk, and a black phone. Everything was black. What color was the staircase? There was no staircase in that house because it was a 1-story cottage. 3 vampires are walking fast. The first vampire says, 2 other vampires are walking behind me. The second one says,
1 vampire is walking behind me, and 1 is walking in front of me.
And the third one says, 2 vampires are walking in front of me, and 2 are walking behind me. How is that possible? These vampires are walking in circles. Humans, vampires, and werewolves gathered in one mansion. There are as many werewolves as there are vampires. There are as many vampires as there are humans. How many creatures are there if 3 of them are werewolves? There are 9 creatures in the mansion, 3 werewolves, 3 vampires, and 3 humans. Now let's go back to Nikki and her adventures. Nikki, Peter, and his daughter Becky decided to go to another town together. It takes 2 days to get there. They drove all day until night fell. Now they have 3 options. First, they can continue driving until the morning, despite the fact that they may meet a lot of vampires along the way. Second, they can spend the night in the nearest cave with bats. And third, they can sleep in the car. Which option would be the safest for them? Sleeping in the car is a bad idea. Vampires can sneak up on them in the middle of the night. A night in a cave is also a bad option. Vampires can hide among these bats. The safest option is to keep driving. Although they'll probably meet vampires, they have a chance to survive if they drive faster. They drove really fast and managed to reach the city by the morning. But when they got out of the car, they discovered they were surrounded by vampires. To escape, they need to choose one of 3 roads. On the first road, there's a pack of vampires. They're coming straight at the guys. There are wild hogs on the second road. The third road leads through a dark alley with hundreds of bats. Which of these 3 ways is the safest? The second way is the best option because the sun illuminates it, so vampires can't follow Nikki and her new friends. Plus, these dogs don't look too unfriendly. The guys reached 3 stores. Now they need to decide which of the stores is safe to enter. Nikki, Peter, and Becky look through the windows to see what's inside. The first store is empty, but it seems to be full of traps. The second store is full of survivors, but they look dangerous. And the third store seems empty as well, but it's completely dark there, and you can't see anything except for dozens of bats. Where should Nikki lead her friends? The first store is the safest. If Nikki, Peter, and Becky notice these traps, then the chances are high they'll be able to avoid them. It's worth a try. There's a man in the city who's trying to survive by hiding among vampires. Nikki spent a week photographing vampires to figure out who he was. Will you be able to see who is actually human in these photos? You can see this man has all 4 photos. In one of the photos, he's eating garlic bread, and in this one, his leg is exposed to the sun. He's only pretending to be a vampire. Nikki and the others decided to invite this man to join their group. The man was delighted and said that his name was Douglas. He was a journalist looking for safe places for people. He suggested creating a password that only humans could figure out. They came up with this one: HAWUH. Can you guess why? If you look at the reflection of this word in the mirror, you will see Huwan, or Huwan. Flip the letter W and you get the word human. But only those who get reflected in the mirror will be able to solve this puzzle. Nikki and her friends settle down in this town. Can you guess which of these houses belongs to Nikki, in which Peter and Becky live, and in which Douglas has chosen? House number 1 belongs to Peter and Becky. There are 2 bicycles next to it. House number 2 belongs to the journalist. Do you see his equipment? And the remaining house, house number 3, belongs to Nikki. Emma came to the office on Monday and found out that someone had deleted an important report from her computer. She knew that in the company there were 3 people who would be happy if she lost her job. Emma loved reading detective novels and even wanted to become a private detective when she was younger. That's why she knew she had to question the suspects. Laura, Emma's colleague, said, "I've just arrived. Phew, the weather is awful. Such a downpour. Why are you asking me?" Thomas, the accountant, answered,
I was out getting coffee and I just returned.
and Eliza, a new employee, said,
I had a meeting with a client in a cafe. I've just come back to the office.
who might have anything to do with Emma's report. Eliza, pay attention to the suspect's feet. Thomas's and Laura's shoes are wet. They got caught in the rain, but Eliza's high heels are perfectly dry. She must have lied about going out to meet with a client. Emma found this strange. To confirm her suspicions, she decided to watch Eliza, but the very next day, the girl disappeared, along with some very important documents. Emma's boss asked her to help him return the documents. He didn't want to inform the police yet. Despite all, Emma was happy. She could fulfill her dream of becoming a detective. Eliza's computer was protected with a password. After an hour of failed attempts, Emma finally noticed a piece of paper on the floor under Eliza's desk. She picked it up.
I'm made up of two words joined together. I'm a dish. My first half is a famous genre. My second part is a grain. What am I?
The answer to this riddle might be the password, but what is it? Popcorn. Emma managed to start the computer, and soon enough, she found a map with some coordinates. Time for some action. The map led her to a modern building. It was a gym. She entered and asked the receptionist about Eliza, but the woman refused to tell her anything unless she brought a guest pass. Once inside, Emma decided to explore the place. At one point, she entered the showers for ladies. She immediately realized something was off. But what exactly? See that man reflected in the window? Who is he, and what is he doing here? Emma was about to run out of the showers when everything went black. When she woke up sometime later, she realized she was in a small room without windows. There was a door with a combination lock. In her hand, she was clutching a note. Spelled forward were those rodents that terrify you. But what you need is spelled backward. You can't touch it, but you can see it at night. What is the password? The rodents the note speaks about are rats. Then the word Emma needs is star. The girl managed to open the door. She rushed out of the room but stopped abruptly. She saw a large armchair. A man was sitting in it. It was the man from the showers at the gym.
Here you are.
He exclaimed cheerfully.
I admit that at first I wanted to bring your boss down, but I've changed my mind. I want to play now. If you crack all my riddles, I'll give you the documents and let you go.
Emma had nothing to do but agree. The man said, "See, I have a room filled with gold. Once, 3 thieves sneaked into that room, but only 2 of them walked out. After they left, the room was empty. So, where was the 3rd thief?" The 3rd criminal was in a wheelchair. He didn't walk. He rolled out of the room.
Good job,
the man shouted and pressed some buttons on the armrest of his chair. Emma screamed as she felt herself falling through the floor. It was pitch dark in the basement. Suddenly, a torch on the wall lit up. Emma saw 3 doors. Behind the first door, there was a dense jungle full of dangerous creatures. Behind the second door, there was a gigantic fire-breathing dinosaur whose breath could burn through any kind of material. And behind the third door, there was a lake filled with ice water. The water was so cold it needed just a few seconds to freeze literally anything. Which door should Emma choose? She should walk through the second door. Even if dinosaurs were still around, they wouldn't be able to breathe fire. It was the correct decision. The dino turned out to be a skillfully made statue. But there was just one door leading out of the room, and it was locked too. Ah! Emma was starting to get impatient. Luckily, there was another note with a hint. There were drawings on it: a banana, a sunflower, a rainbow, and an apple. Emma thought for a while, then pressed 4 numbers on the panel near the door. The code was correct, and the door opened. What numbers did the girl press?
1371. Each digit corresponds to the number of colors of the objects in the picture. Emma saw a long corridor. She'd been walking for a while when she realized that the corridor was about to split into 3 passageways. They were signed West, East, South. She also saw this inscription on the wall. Which corridor should she choose? Emma tilted her head and looked at the inscription upside down. This way, it read, South. That's where she needed to go. Soon, the girl saw 3 doors on her way. On the floor, there were 3 keys that could open these 3 doors. What is the biggest number of attempts she will need to figure out the key for each door? Six. 3 attempts for the first key and all 3 doors. 2 attempts for the second key and the remaining 2 doors. And 1 attempt for the third key and the last door. Emma decided to go through the left door, and guess what? She ended up in the room with the armchair again. The man was there too. He asked her, "Today is Friday. You need to do something 72 days later. What day of the week will it be?" Emma understood it really fast. It would be Sunday. Look, 72 days equals 10 weeks plus 2 days. And 2 days from Friday, that's Sunday. The man was getting irritated. "Well, and how good are you at math? Look at this sequence. What are the next 2 numbers?" The next 2 numbers should be 20 and 28. There are 2 groups of numbers in this sequence, 11, 14, and 17, and 19, 22, and 25. In both of them, each next number is 3 more than the previous one. It means that in the first group, the next number is 20, and in the second group, 28. Then, the man offered Emma a bet. He said he would put 1 red and 1 blue marble in a box. If the girl picked the blue marble, he would let her go. But if she got the red marble, she would have to stay and help him around the house for a year. Emma knew that the man was going to cheat, because why would he take a risk like that? He would probably put 2 red marbles instead of 1 red and 1 blue. But how can she prove it? After thinking for a while, she managed to win the bet. How did she do it? Emma picked a marble and quickly put it in her mouth without showing it to the man. The marble that remained in the box was red. According to the rules, it meant that the marble Emma had chosen was blue. The man didn't want to admit that he had tried to cheat. "Okay, I'm not going to go back on my word, but here's the last riddle. If you crack it, you're free to go. How can you turn 6 into an odd number?" Emma didn't need to think much. She removed the letter S, which left IX. That's the number 9 in Roman numerals, and this number is odd. The man could do nothing. He gave Emma the documents and let her go. The girl was happy. Do you think she should pursue the career of a detective?
You're a secret agent undercover. Today, you're going to visit a small town on a difficult mission. You need to download all the data from computers located on the 60th floor. If everything goes well, you'll get a promotion. Be careful not to make a mistake. The town's on a remote island. Your boss gives you a city map with the target marked on it. You suit up in ordinary clothes, take a flash drive, a flashlight, a lighter, a phone, and a flare. You reach the island in a small boat. You get out on the shore and you see 3 roads marked by signs. There are skyscrapers in the first sign. A hut is in the second one. The third sign has trees in it. Which road will you choose? You need the data stored on the 60th floor. That's why you chose the first road. It leads to skyscrapers. First, you pass through a dense forest and come to a river shore. The town is on the other side. You can't cross the river because of the strong current. Besides, you don't know how deep it is. You see a ruined bridge on your left. There's an old boat on your right, but it's unlikely to help. What will you do? You can't go back. Look, there's a hatch in the grass. It seems to be an underground tunnel passing through the river. You open the hatch and go down. It's dark, quiet, and cold here. You turn on the flashlight and see an empty bottle and a basketball on the ground. You direct the light further and see, wow, it's a creepy girl with long black hair. She's just staring at you, saying nothing. You're scared, but you're not gonna run. This girl is not real. But how did you know that? The basketball with the bottle casts shadows, but the girl doesn't. She's just a dark memory from your past. You rub your eyes and the girl disappears. You go through an underground tunnel and climb up. Great, you made it into town. You walk down the street and notice that all the people are looking at you. Why do you seem suspicious to them? You've just come out of an underground tunnel. Your clothes and face are pretty dirty, so you're gonna stand out a bit. Everything is fine. You continue your mission. According to the map, you have to pass 2 more blocks to get to the building. Many people are rushing to work. You see a diner on the corner, a library, a school. Here's a big supermarket. But something is wrong here. Can you tell what it is? There are no cars on the roads. You're approaching the skyscraper. You try to open the door, but it's closed. Take a look around and decide how to get inside. You have 3 options: a fire escape, a hatch, and find out yourself. The fire escape leads to the window of the 2nd floor, but a guard is standing there. You can use the hatch, but see the steam coming out of it? It's boiling inside. So what about a tire iron? You can use it to break the lock. You're inside. It's very dark here. You turn on the flashlight, but it breaks down. What will you do to light your way? A flame from your lighter isn't enough. Look at the windows. They're all covered with curtains. Just pull them aside and let the light in. Great. You walk through the spacious hall and hear the flapping of wings. You're looking up. Oh no. Hundreds of bats are flying towards you. You need to hide as fast as possible. There are 3 elevators ahead. Which one will you choose? The first elevator is on the 25th floor. It will take too long to get down here. The number 0 is above the 2nd elevator. The 3rd elevator doesn't show any numbers, so it doesn't work. So, the 2nd elevator it is. You press the button of the 2nd elevator and quickly go inside. You push 60 and lift up. The elevator gets stuck on the 35th floor. The lights turn off. You open the hatch and climb onto the roof. You see 2 other elevators coming up to you from below. Which one will you jump in? There's a fire in the 1st elevator. The 2nd one fills with water. What will you choose to survive? You jump into the 2nd elevator. The water rises higher and higher, but the doors open and all the water pours out. You're on the 40th floor. It seems that using elevators is a bad idea. So you decide to climb 20 floors by stairs. You run 5 floors and smash against the wall made of hardened sand. What will you do? You can't use the elevator. How to get through the obstacle? See the flashing fire safety sensor? Use your lighter to activate it. It's done. The water is splashing out of the ceiling and flooding all floors. It moistens the sand. The wall turns into dirt and melts. You go higher and meet a huge growling lion on the 50th floor. You run away, but then you stop. It seems the lion isn't real. How did you know that? There was a fire alarm. The lion should be wet, but it looks perfectly dry. You come back and see a small box attached to the ceiling. A hologram beam emanates from it. 55 is written on the wall. You have 5 floors left. You're almost there. You're tired and sweating. You sit down on the steps to rest and fall asleep. You open your eyes a couple of hours later, get up, and realize you're on the ground floor. The number 1 is on the wall. You look down over the railing and see dozens of stair flights. Then you look up and see the same. How is this possible? You're still on the 55th floor. Someone's just painted 1 over the numbers. Look, they left a bucket of paint and a brush nearby. You touch the number and feel the fresh paint. You move 2 floors up and meet 2 big guards. They block your way and say, "Only a smart one can pass, so solve our riddle." A young pirate is sailing to an island. A ship with 20 people on board goes towards him. Each of these people has a talking parrot. Each parrot has feathers of 3 colors: red, orange, and blue. A flea lives on each blue feather. How many fleas go to the island? None. The pirate is sailing towards the island and the ship approaches him. So it's going the opposite way. The guards scratch their heads and let you pass. You move another 2 floors up and notice no numbers on the walls. How many floors do you still have to go? You woke up on the 55th floor. Then you passed 2 floors and met the guards. And now you've advanced by 2 more floors. Therefore, you only have 1 left. You run up the stairs, open the door, and it's locked. Of course. You're almost there. What will you do? Use the fire escape outside the window. You're climbing the ladder. Birds are flying by. Don't look down. Don't look down, you're telling yourself. You get to the window and jump inside the building. You take the flash drive out of your pocket, but stop. There's no computers here. You only see a dozen of exercise bikes. What's happening? How to complete the mission? You've climbed the fire escape to the 61st floor. You need to go down 1 floor. The door heading downstairs is locked. There are no elevators here. You walk between exercise bikes and touch one of them with your hand. Energetic music turns on. All exercise bikes start pedaling. A female voice from the speaker asks everyone to start training. Whoever cheats will have to stay in this room forever. Whoever pedals fast will get what they want. You don't want to stay in that room, but which bike to choose? There's only one bike that doesn't pedal itself. It's on the other end of the room. Get on it. You quickly start pedaling and notice the floor is going down. The harder you work out, the lower you go. Sweat is pouring off you like a stream. You jump off your bike and see a huge computer. You stick the USB into it and copy all the data. The alarm is activated. You can smell the smoke. It's a fire. It comes from the lower floors. The files are copied. You put the USB in your pocket and run to the roof. The building is burning. You don't know what to do. At this moment, the phone rings. "Is it done?" a voice asks. "Yes, but I need help," you answer. "We will send an aircraft to you. Just give a signal," the voice says and hangs up. The flames reach the roof. What kind of signal do you need to send? You have a flare, remember? You release the signal rocket in the sky. A few seconds later, a plane appears. It throws a ladder down to you. You jump on it and fly away. Mission complete.
So, Smarty Pants, are you ready for some detective work? Great, because I happen to have some right here. Gee, what a coincidence. Let's go! You drop a bowling ball in a bucket of water which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And you also drop another ball of the same weight, mass, and size in a bucket at 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If you do it at the same time, which ball will hit the bottom of the bucket first? The ball in the bucket of the 45-degree water will hit the bottom of the bucket later than the other ball. Did you think that the water had to be frozen at 30 degrees Fahrenheit? But the riddle says nothing about that bucket having anything in it. Therefore, there is no water or ice to slow the ball down. Sam is talking to his lawyer in jail. They're very upset because the judge has refused to grant bail. At the end of the conversation, Sam is allowed to leave the jail. Why? Sam is visiting his lawyer, who was arrested and jailed. Time to look for another lawyer. Mary is the owner of a bag store. One day, a young woman came in. She wanted to buy a bag. After choosing the one she liked, she asked Mary how much it was. The price was $30. The girl asked Mary to sell it for $20, and the store owner agreed. The girl gave her $50. Mary didn't have any change, so she went to her friend who worked nearby to change the bill. The friend gave Mary two $20 bills and one $10 bill. The woman gave the customer $30 and put the remaining $20 in the cash register. Just a few minutes after the buyer left, Mary's friend rushed into the store. "The bill you gave me is fake. I need my money back." Mary gave her friend her own $50. How much money did the store owner lose in total? For one thing, Mary sold the bag at a $10 discount, so she already lost this money. Then she gave the girl $30 in change, and she had to return $50 to her friend for the fake bill. One $20 bill was the one her friend had given her, so she had to add $30 of her own. In total, she lost $70. Wow, next time use a credit card, huh? Private Detective Deborah was doing some shopping at the mall. Suddenly, she heard people arguing. The woman went there and saw a stressed shop assistant and several people crowding him. The poor man had found a smartphone and made an announcement, and now several people claimed it was their phone. One man said the phone must have slipped out of his bag. A young woman said the gadget belonged to her, and an older woman shouted it was her husband's device. That's when the phone rang. For some reason, the shop assistant handed it to Deborah. The woman glanced at the screen and immediately gave the phone to the man. How did she understand whose device it was? Deborah saw the word wife written on the screen. Jenny heard about a private party which was supposed to be VIP. Celebrities and influencers were going to attend it. And guess what? Thanks to one of her friends, Jenny managed to get on the guest list.
Yay!
Before the party, the girl bought a new dress and a pretty and expensive purse. At the party, Jenny got acquainted with a very nice young man called David. They were talking when someone pushed Jenny. She didn't fall over, only thanks to David's fast reaction. But she noticed that her purse was gone.
No.
David rushed to catch the thief. He spotted a guy hanging around the entrance. "What are you doing here?" The man answered that he was looking for an ATM. He needed cash to buy a ticket for the party. David told the man to hand Jenny's purse over or he would call the police. How did he understand the man was the thief? This is an A-list event. You can't just buy a ticket to get there. This man is lying. The faster you run, the harder it is to catch this thing. What is it? It's your breath. Brandon's wife told him to cook several eggs, but the man had to boil them for exactly 2 minutes. She left her husband 3 hourglass timers for 3, 4, and 5 minutes. How can the man boil the eggs for exactly 2 minutes? Brandon waited until the water started to boil. Then he turned over the 3 and 5 minute timers. When the 3-minute timer ran out, he dropped the eggs into the water. And when the 5-minute timer ran out, he had his perfectly boiled eggs. Sometimes I am loved, usually by the young. Other times I am dreaded, mostly by the old ones. I'm hard to remember, also hard to forget. And yet, if you do, you'll make someone upset. I occur every day. Everyone has to face me. Even if you don't want it to happen, embrace me. What am I? A birthday. It's thin, but when water splashes it, none seeps through. When hit, it changes color. It covers an incredibly complex thing, yet it's very easy to flex. What is it? It's human skin. Look at these people. Can you figure out which one is a smuggler? It's the woman on the left. The lady on this right is really pregnant. She's just wearing a wig. But the shape of the belly of the woman on the left is weird, to say the least. One of these people stole some Pringles. Can you figure out who it was? It's this young lady. Look at her ponytail. A very strange shape. Doesn't it resemble a pack of Pringles? Now, I've got this group of people for you. One of them is a vampire. Can you figure out who it is? It's this guy sitting on the right. Have you noticed that he has no shadow? A farmer is traveling with a fox, a sheep, and a small sack of hay. He comes to a river. There's a small boat near the shore. The boat can only support the farmer and one other animal or item. If the farmer leaves the fox alone with the sheep, the fox will eat the sheep. And if the farmer leaves the sheep alone with the hay, the sheep will eat the hay. How can the farmer get all three, as well as himself, safely across the river? The farmer should take the sheep across the river. Then he should paddle back. Then he will take the fox across the river. After that, the farmer should take the sheep back to the first side of the river. Then the farmer should leave the sheep on the first side of the river and take the hay to the other side, because it's safe to leave the hay with the fox. The farmer will then return to the first side of the river and pick up the sheep. The morning after a heavy snowfall, Justin went outside and saw there was twice as much snow on the top of his garage as there was on his neighbor's. Still, Justin didn't get surprised or upset. He just smiled and continued walking. Why? Justin's garage is twice as big as his neighbor's. No wonder it has twice as much snow. Andrew and Gary are twins. They were born just 1 minute apart, and Andrew is the elder of the two. But for some mysterious reason, they celebrate their birthdays 2 days apart once every several years. How is this possible? Andrew was born at 11:59 p.m. on February 28th. It wasn't a leap year, so Gary, who appeared just 1 minute later, was already born on March 1st. That's why during leap years, they have 2 days between their birthdays. Look at these mirrors and say which one is magical. It's the one the girl in the middle is holding. Apparently, it helped her to get rid of her mole. 2 men are playing chess. They've already played 5 games, and each man has won 3 of them. How is it possible? The men are playing with different opponents, not with each other.
David was crazy about mountain biking. It was his biggest passion in life, but his wife Jessica hated his hobby. She thought it was too dangerous. Once, David's friend Oliver invited him on an exciting rock climbing trip. David knew his wife would be against this idea, so he told her he would go fishing to the nearest lake for a couple of days. Jessica agreed but asked her husband to send a photo of him fishing. Once David arrived at the foot of the mountain, he photoshopped a fishing photo and sent it to his wife. As soon as she saw it, she immediately realized it was a fake. How come? Look, it's snowing. It means there has to be snow at the nearest lake too. But the photo David sent is totally snow-free. John had been in jail for a year. All this time, he'd been waiting for an opportunity to escape. One summer morning, he finally managed to break free. But it didn't go unnoticed. Several security guards started to follow John, and the man had to hide in the ladies' room. Look at the picture and try to figure out where John is. The man's hiding in the third stall. He wouldn't have had enough time to get a pair of women's shoes. An infinite number of mathematicians are waiting to make their orders in a coffee shop. The first one asks the barista for half a gallon of coffee. The second wants to have a quarter of a gallon. The third needs an eighth, and so on. How many gallons of coffee will the barista need to fulfill the wishes of all the mathematicians? Just one. A horse travels a certain distance every day. Strangely enough, 2 of its legs travel 20 miles every day, while the other 2 legs travel nearly 20.5 miles. It would seem that 2 of the horse's legs must be half a mile ahead of the other 2, but of course, this can't be true. The horse is a regular animal, so how is this situation possible? The horse operates the mill and travels in a circular clockwise direction. The 2 outside legs travel a greater distance than the inside ones. Now, I want to ask you not to take this riddle too seriously. Okay? Then listen attentively. There are 10 people in a house. Everyone wants to shake hands only with people shorter than themselves. Let's assume that everybody is different in height. How many handshakes will be made? And the correct answer is 0. Taller people do want to shake hands with shorter ones, that's true, but no one says that shorter people will want to shake hands with them in return. A man was to be sentenced for his crimes, and the judge told him, "You may make a statement. If it's true, I'll sentence you to 2 years in prison. If it's false, I'll sentence you to 5 years in prison.
After the man made his statement, the judge decided to set him free. Can you figure out what the man said? He said, "You'll sentence me to 5 years in prison." If it was true, then the judge would have to make it false by sentencing him to 2 years. If it was false, then he would have to give him 5 years, which would make it true. So rather than contradict his own word, the judge set the man free. Look at these two women driving. One of them is actually a car thief. Can you figure out which one? It's the elderly lady. See those scratches near the door handle? A man got stranded on an island, and one of the main issues was that he couldn't swim. However, he managed to get off the island and return home safely. How did he do it? No one said the man got stranded on a deserted island. He just found some people and asked them to take him home by boat. A woman jumped off a cliff, but she didn't get hurt. How is this possible? She jumped off a cliff into a swimming pool in the water park. A boy fell off a 30-foot ladder, but he didn't get hurt. How is this possible? The boy fell off the bottom rung of the ladder. Now it's time to think outside the box. What will you get if you add 3 to 300 5 times? That's simple. 303, 303, 303, 303, 303. Now, what king can you make if you take the head of a lamb, the middle of a pig, the hind of a buffalo, and the tail of a dragon? You'll get a lion, the king of the jungle. See for yourself. The head of a lamb, the middle of a pig, the hind of a buffalo, and the tail of a dragon. L-I-O-N, lion. Martin had 3 daughters. The eldest daughter was the most honest girl in the universe. She always told the truth. The middle daughter sometimes told the truth, but sometimes she lied. The youngest daughter never said a single word of truth. One day, Martin brought home a marriage proposal for one of the girls. It was from a wealthy man named John. He wanted to marry either the eldest or the youngest daughter. This way, he could easily figure out whether the girl told the truth or lied. Martin had a condition for him. He said that he wouldn't tell John who the eldest, middle, or youngest daughter was. Also, he allowed John to ask only one question to identify the eldest or the youngest girl. And still, John asked just one question and found the right girl. What was the question? The question John asked was, is she older than her? He addressed his question to one of the daughters, pointing at the other 2. You see, if the girl he asked turned out to be the eldest daughter, he'd know who the youngest one was. Because no matter what, the eldest daughter always told the truth. If the girl he asked was the middle one, it wouldn't matter because the other 2 girls would both be acceptable choices. And if he asked the youngest daughter, she would lie, and he would identify the eldest girl. In any case, he needed to choose the youngest one based on the answer. Eric got lost in a museum. While he was trying to find a way out, it got late. All the doors were closed. Finally, he saw 3 staircases. The first one was all covered in bizarre nettles with razor-sharp leaves and long spikes. The second had giant stinking flowers with a stench almost impossible to bear.
And the third staircase was an impassable jungle of cacti. Which staircase should Eric choose? He should run down the second staircase. Even though the flowers are gross, they're relatively harmless. Sarah got lost in a jungle. After wandering for hours, she finally came to a clearing with 3 narrow paths. Unfortunately, one of them was blocked by massive bushes with sharp thorns. The second was covered with trash and broken glass. And the third path was guarded by huge, scary-looking mantises. Which path should Sarah brave? The girl should choose the third path. Even though mantises look threatening, they're totally harmless. Chris was a truck driver. One Friday afternoon, he left Orangetown and was driving along the highway when he saw a man lying on the side of the road. Chris stopped and ran towards the man. After some time, he managed to bring the man around. His story was rather dramatic. He was a hitchhiker who tried to get to Orangetown. But halfway there, he had an argument with the driver and was thrown out of the car. The hitchhiker hit his head and lost consciousness. Now he was begging Chris to give him a lift to the town. Chris didn't believe the man's story and refused to help him. Why? The hitchhiker was lying on the right side of the road, but if he was going to Orangetown, he would be on the left side. It always stays hot, even when it's in the refrigerator. What is it? A pepper.
Eric was deeply in love with Carrie, and he finally decided to ask her out. He wanted to make it romantic, so instead of texting her, he decided to write his invitation with chalk on the sidewalk right outside her window. It read, "Carrie, I'll be waiting for you in the restaurant Star tomorrow at 7 p.m. sharp." Carrie was also in love with Eric, and she would have come there with pleasure. Still, she never showed up. Why? Thing is, the rain started, and the invitation was washed away. Carrie simply didn't see it. I hope they work things out. Allison got lost in a forest and stumbled upon an old house. When she entered it, she saw a witch. She wasn't evil, though, so she said she could help Allison find a way home if she cracked a riddle. The witch asked Allison, "What kind of room can you neither enter nor leave?" Allison was smart, so she gave the right answer. Can you crack it too? I told you the witch wasn't evil. She even gave a small hint. Do you see a mushroom in her hand? Right, the answer is mushroom. A detective got an anonymous email about an upcoming heist in one of New York's museums. To stop it from happening, he needs to know the month the heist is planned for. Later, the police managed to find a clue. It was a note with a secret code. The police couldn't crack it, so they brought it to the detective. What month is the heist planned for? The detective cracked the code almost immediately. A jar in the picture stands for J, a ukulele stands for U, a nugget stands for N, and an eggplant stands for E. Ah, June. There are 70 floors in the apartment building. The higher the floor, the more people live there. Which floor does the elevator go to most often? It's the first floor. The residents of all floors go down to the first floor. A luxurious spa center got an anonymous call. Someone called to report a lady that's planning to steal expensive jewelry from the spa center visitors. The staff went to look for that lady to escort her out. Can you find her? Look, there's a lady having a pedicure. She doesn't look suspicious, but she's the only one who's not wearing a special bracelet. Security! The other day, Kelly was rummaging around her auntie's attic when she accidentally stumbled upon 5 short chains, each made of 4 silver links. She thought it could be great if she combined them all into one big chain of 20 links. When she went back to town, she brought those tiny chains to a jeweler. He told her it would cost $5 for each silver link that he would have to break and then reseal. How much will the chain cost? Kelly could do that for $25 if she told the jeweler to break a link in each chain. But she was really smart, so she asked the jeweler to break all 4 links in one chain and use them to attach the other chains, which cost her $20. A wise king decided to find someone who could replace him. He wanted to make a challenge, and the one who nailed it would become the new king. Anyone who wanted to take the throne needed to put a whole cucumber into a glass bottle without cutting the cucumber or damaging the bottle. The participants had a week to do it. This challenge seemed to be impossible, so only 5 people decided to take part, and there was only one winner. How did he put the cucumber in the bottle? He placed a baby cucumber, still on its stem, into the bottle. Cucumbers grow rather fast, so he had enough time to win that competition. And now he's king. They set the bar kinda low, didn't they? Joanna and Josh were on their honeymoon in Italy. On the first day, they went on a city tour around Venice and left all their stuff in the hotel room. When they came back, someone was standing outside their door trying to get in. The couple called the receptionist right away, but the man claimed Joanna and Josh owed him some money for the tours they'd taken in the past 4 days. The reception knew the man was lying right away. How did he figure it out? It was the couple's first day in the hotel. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and say that it's more than half full, but your friend argues that it's less than half full. How can you figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches its rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. 2 couples are about to get married. The hall is full of guests. The brides look stunning in these long white gowns, and the grooms seem to be completely happy. All of a sudden, one of the guests notices there's something wrong with one of the couples. Can you guess what? Look at this couple. These folks have no reflection at all. They must be vampires. In one of the galaxies, there's Planet Pink. There are many people, but few animals. Only hens and roosters live there. They can be of 3 different colors: pink, red, and yellow. Andrew went to that planet to see his friends for the weekend, and while he was walking down the street, he saw 3 bird couples in love. No bird can be with a partner of the same color. Can you guess the color of the partner of the red hen? It's the yellow rooster. The red hen can't go out with the red one, and the pink rooster, as you see, is madly in love with the yellow hen. Emily's aunt has bought a bottle of perfume for her niece's birthday. Sadly, she couldn't keep it. because Helga, her sister, is terribly allergic to perfumes. Emily brought it back to her aunt, who bought it for $65. The old lady sold it to someone for $80. Then she suddenly remembered she had one more niece, so she got it back for $70. Sally, the forgotten niece, turned out to be allergic too, so the auntie had to sell it again for $60. Did she make any profit? Yep, she made $5 and grabbed a Frappuccino for the same amount. You're trapped in a room that's slowly getting filled with water coming from a faucet in the wall. There are no windows in the room, and the door is sealed shut. You have a mop and a big bucket. So how are you going to get yourself out of this one? This one was simple. You just need to turn the faucet off. Sally works as a barista. She's the one who served Emily's aunt with that Frappuccino. This morning, she dropped a cup full of coffee. Luckily, her white shirt wasn't stained, but it took her a while to clean up the mess. How come? There were coffee beans in the cup. They ended up right under the counter. After the bank had been robbed, the police found the money in the park among cacti. The police officers arrested all the suspects, and they almost immediately figured out who the bank robber was. Can you do the same in 10 seconds? This guy on the left has scratches left by cacti all over his body. Dennis was at home watching TV. All of a sudden, his wife's super expensive vase fell and broke in their bedroom. He ran into the room in time to see a stranger jump out the window and run away. Dennis tried to chase him, but his glasses fogged up because of the cold. That's why he couldn't identify who it was. When the police arrived, they listened to his story and immediately knew he was lying. Dennis made this story up not to tell his wife that he had broken the vase. How did they know this? Anyone who wears glasses knows that they don't fog up when you go from a warm room to the cold outdoors. It's the other way around.
A villain lured Detective Johnson into a trap. He told the detective that if he wanted to survive, he needed to crack a riddle. Then he put a jug of juice and an empty glass in front of him. There was nothing else on the table. Johnson needed to fill the glass to the brim, but after that, the jug had to contain the same amount of juice as it did at the beginning. Can you help the detective figure out how to do it? It's very simple. The detective should pour the drink into the glass and then place it inside the jug. An elderly lady was walking in the park when a stranger grabbed her bag and hurried away. The woman told the police the man was wearing a coat, a hat, and glasses. He also had a mustache. The police officers ran in the direction the lady showed them. Some distance away, they found the hat, coat, and glasses lying on the ground. They realized that the criminal could be hiding in the nearby cafe. Look at these 4 men. All of them are cafe visitors. You need to understand who took the bag from the elderly woman. It can't be the man in a hat or the one wearing a coat. The criminal also got rid of his glasses, so it can't be the man in the corner. It means that the man wanted by the police is the one on the right. He has a small wound on his upper lip. He must have gotten rid of his fake mustache in a hurry. Builders were mixing sand, gravel, and cement for the foundation of a house.
Suddenly, one of the workers noticed a small bird hopping along the top of the foundation wall. At one point, the bird misjudged the distance and fell down one of the holes between the blocks. No one could reach it since the bird was too far down. The hole was also too small for it to fly out of. Someone suggested using 2 sticks to try to pull the bird out, but this idea was rejected because it could easily injure the fragile bird. What would be the easiest way to get the bird out of the hole without hurting it? Since the workers have plenty of sand at hand, they can pour a little at a time into the hole. The bird would constantly keep shifting its position and get closer to the surface along with the rising sand. Now this riddle will require some thinking and analytical skills. You might even need to get a pen and a slip of paper. Listen attentively. 2 criminals were caught stealing. Detective Brightbrain suspects that the criminals are in cahoots. But this is just speculation, and there's no proof. The detective offers each of the criminals a deal to rat on his comrade and get freedom for this. But the other criminal will be sentenced to 10 years in prison. If the criminal refuses to testify, he'll spend 6 months in prison for refusing to cooperate with the investigation. If both testify against each other, both will receive 2 years in prison. The criminals are isolated from each other and cannot communicate. It's in everyone's interest to reduce the time spent behind bars as much as possible. What decision should each criminal make? Make a deal with the investigation or remain silent? Since they can't communicate with each other, the criminals have 4 possibilities. A is silent and B is silent. Equals each gets 6 months in prison. A is silent and B testifies. B is released and A is sentenced to 10 years. A testifies and B is silent equals A is released and B is sentenced to 10 years. A testifies and B testifies equals both get imprisoned for 2 years. If the suspects are not allowed to communicate, then they do not know what the other will choose. In this situation, if A remains silent, then, depending on B's decision, he will be sentenced to 10 years or 6 months. If A testifies against B, A will receive 2 years in prison or will be released. So it will be more profitable for each of the suspects to testify against each other so as not to be sentenced to 10 years. But if A and B had the opportunity to communicate, then of course, the best solution for each of them would be to refuse to make a deal with the investigation and get only 6 months in prison. On the first day of school, someone pierced the wheels of the principal's car. When a detective arrived, she immediately suspected that the culprit was not one of the students, but an adult, since all the children were in the classroom. So, she questioned 4 teachers, asking each of them what they had been doing at 8 a.m. Mr. Walter said that he'd been on his way to school, running late. Mrs. Thomas answered that she had been checking her students' exam papers. Mr. Benjamin said that he'd been reading a newspaper. And Mrs. Calvin explained that she had been in her office with her husband, who had come to visit her. The detective immediately realized who had punctured the tires on the principal's car. Who was it? It was Mrs. Thomas.
Oh, no.
She couldn't be checking exam papers on the first day of school. Mary Levis was a famous detective. Once, she was gathering all available information on a tricky case. A well-known banker disappeared from his office. The detective had 5 suspects: Alice, Jack, Stephen, Nicholas, and Maria. The thing is, on the banker's table, Mary found a diary with several entries. The latest entry said, "At 10 o'clock, I have a meeting with Maria. The next day, at 1 o'clock, I have to meet with Nicholas. And on June 3rd, I have an $11 million deal with Stefan. It's important not to mix it up." After carefully examining the evidence, the detective realized who was behind the banker's disappearance. Who was it? It was Jack. All the numbers in the last entry, 10, 1, 3, and 11, are the order of the letters in the alphabet. By matching the numbers with letters, you can get the name. There was a theft in a multi-story building. The victim was sure she would receive a large payment from the insurance company. As for the robber, she claimed he had jumped out of the window and disappeared. The detective went to the first floor, opened a closed window, and threw a coin out of it. Then he went up to the second floor and did the same. He continued to climb floor after floor, opening windows and throwing coins, until he reached the last one. Then he returned and said that the victim was lying. How did he understand it? The detective had to open every window on every floor. If the robber had jumped out on his own, he wouldn't have been able to close the window behind him. He had an accomplice, and most likely, it was the victim who wanted a payout from the insurance company. Jake and his friend Jonathan liked challenging each other. One would suggest something they could do, and the other would prove it wrong somehow. One day, Jake surprised Jonathan by stating, "I can answer any question in the world." Jonathan was sure that he could win the challenge, so he accepted the task of proving it wrong. He wrote up a test full of super hard questions. After a while, Jake returned the test. Jonathan lost the challenge. He had to admit that Jake could indeed answer any question. How did Jake win? He indeed answered all the questions by writing, "I don't know." Two workmen were repairing a roof. Suddenly, they both fell down the chimney and found themselves in a large fireplace. One man's face was smeared with soot, but the face of the other was clean. The second man washed his face, but the worker whose face was dirty didn't, and just went back to work. Why? When the two men looked at each other, the one with the clean face thought his face was dirty as well. The other man, though, looked at his companion and thought that his face was clean. Are you ready to dive into sci-fi madness? Let's go! Somewhere in outer space, a show has just begun on a giant asteroid. A glowing star guy is reading poetry. His viewers are little stone people. The artist is saying beautiful words with passion. He puts his heart and soul into the performance. He's finishing. A shining tear is rolling down his cheek. He bows to the audience, but no one is clapping. In fact, they don't react at all. Why? Because this is outer space. There's no sound here. Somewhere in the vast valleys of Mars, races on rovers are taking place. 5 cars are driving at high speed toward the finish line. 3 racers soon leave the others behind, but only one of them will be the winner. Take a look at the dashboard of each of the drivers. Try to figure out who will be the first to come to the finish line. The speedometer arrow on the first rider's dashboard shows the maximum speed, but he won't win because the fuel indicator is flashing. The second racer seems to be fine, but look at the mirror. No one is reflected there. The car is moving without a driver. The third driver will win. Each of these 3 friends is going on a journey. They have already packed their suitcases and filled the tanks of their spaceships. This guy says he wants to visit Neptune. That girl is going to check on her friends who live on Mars. This man is flying to Venus. Which of them is lying? Venus is very close to the sun. It's a scorching hot place. And this man is wearing warm clothes. He's probably lying. Show me your hands! The head of the Department of Extraterrestrial Beings screams. 3 detainees are sitting at the table. One of them is not human. Look at their hands. Who do you think is an imposter from another planet? Yeah, this guy has 6 fingers, but there are people on Earth who have such hands. Look at this girl. She has shining green eyes. Apparently, she's not from our planet. 3 wanderers are walking on the dark side of the moon. They're tired and lost. Fortunately, a rescue spaceship spots them. The travelers beg to take them on board, but there is only one seat. The first wanderer carries a heavy box with meteorite rocks. He's tired and can no longer walk with this load. The second guy carries nothing, but he looks sick. The third wanderer says he's exhausted because he's extremely thirsty. He hasn't drank for 2 days. Who really needs help? Gravity is much weaker on the moon than on Earth, so the first wanderer's box should be quite light. He just pretends to be tired. The third wanderer has a chance to get some water. Do you see a small rescue station in the distance? H2O is written on it, so he can find water there. But the second wanderer really needs help. The indicator on his spacesuit signals a low oxygen level. The inhabitants of Planet Quest love adventures. Their favorite place is a dangerous park on a desert planet near a black hole. So one guy named Lup goes there. He needs to try to survive there for 1 week. As soon as he arrives at the park, he comes across a space cockroach that has 6 heads. The cockroach jumps on Lup and bites him with one of its heads. Lup fights off the monster and gets back to the ship. The bite is venomous, but fortunately, Lup has an antidote. First, he needs to drink 1 pill that contains medicine, and after that, a catalyst that activates the cure. Then, Lup needs to repeat it 2 hours later. But the problem is the pills with the medicine and catalyst look similar, and Lup has mixed them in his pocket. He can't take 4 tablets at once because it's dangerous, so how can he separate them? Lup needs to crush all the pills and divide the powder into 2 equal parts. One is for now, and the other he'll swallow 2 hours later. There will be the same amount of catalyst and antidote in each part. You're on planet Veveki in the Purple Pencil Nebula. Right now you're wandering through a dark forest. The trees are covered with pieces of toilet paper instead of leaves. You know you have company in the woods, a werewolf. You come to a rocky cliff and see 3 bridges leading to the other side of the forest. There are people on every bridge. Which one is the werewolf? It can be anybody, but it doesn't matter. No one can turn into a werewolf since there's no full moon here. This is not Earth, remember? A dwarf planet illuminates the sky. Welcome to the moon again. Right now, you witness the most incredible jumping competition. Thanks to the weak gravity on Earth's natural satellite, athletes can jump really high. But which of them will jump the highest? The participants put on their spacesuits and walk out of the atmospheric station. They seem to be ready. 3, 2, 1, jump! And we see the winner. She's jumped much higher than her opponents. But wait, there's something wrong here. This participant is not worthy of the title of the winner. She cheated. But how did you understand that? It's a hologram. All the participants left footprints on the ground after jumping and landing. But this girl has left no traces, which means she's not real. On the shore of Molten Gum, far away from the village of Talking Stones, there's a big house. This building is different from all others in this neighborhood since it exists in 2-dimensional space. The owner is a rich architect, Mr. Ali Lee Bulb, who has just woken up after a 90,000-second nap. He finds a broken diamond banana in the kitchen. Mr. Ali Lee Bulb gets angry and calls everyone who was in the house while he was sleeping. He's going to find out who broke his amazing piece of jewelry. Big Closed Eye, Cardboard Giraffe with glasses, and Three-Headed Pelican come into the living room.
Tell me who broke the banana.
Mr. Ali Lee Bulb says, I didn't do that. I was visiting rich old people in their dreams. Big Closed Eye tells him.
I was watching the Liquid Laughter 3D movie in the living room all this time.
The giraffe says, I have no idea who I am and what's going on here. I haven't touched your banana, said one of the pelican's heads. Mr. Ali Lee Bulb immediately realizes who's lied to him. And you? It's Cardboard Giraffe. He couldn't watch a 3D movie since the house only exists in 2 dimensions. It happened on a dark night on a purple planet. A fluffy snake crawled into the house where a purple guy was sleeping. It bit him, and the purple guy decided to go to a hospital. He told the doctor everything. She looked at the guy attentively and told him the snake hadn't been venomous. How did she know that? It was 3:45 a.m. on the clock in the guy's room. Now it's 11:45 p.m. on the clock in the examination room. The purple guy has spent almost a day trying to get to the hospital. So far, nothing bad has happened to him, which means the snake was not poisonous. The king of a tiny planet has no heirs. But then, who will become the ruler of this world? To choose the best candidate, the king gives every inhabitant 1 seed. Whoever grows the most beautiful flower will get the planet, the king tells them. Come back in 2 months. 2 months later, everyone came back with beautiful flowers. Among hundreds of candidates, there was one girl with an empty pot, and her brother with the most beautiful flower. The king said they would rule the planet. Why them? All the seeds were fake, and the girl didn't want to deceive the king by replacing the seed. Meanwhile, her brother put a lot of effort into growing the most beautiful plant to achieve his goal. Rain falls upward in this world, cars move backward, broken glass repairs itself, pens erase words from paper, chickens hide back in the egg at the end of their life. So you get it, time runs backward here. But something is wrong in this world. What is it? Try to look beyond the picture you've just seen before answering. The correct answer is my voice. It's not reversed. Space monsters are chasing you inside an abandoned space station somewhere at the edge of a faraway galaxy. They're stretching their toothy tentacles towards you. Fortunately, you manage to jump into a rescue ship and get out of there. Suddenly, you realize that the ship has no brakes. There's an asteroid belt to your left. A small black hole is on the right, and a red star is in the middle. Which way should you choose? None of these. Don't forget that you can also fly up or down. You're in outer space. It's raining diamonds every day on this planet. The rays of the closest star that warms this world contain gold particles. Banknotes grow on trees. Seas glow green because the water is filled with emeralds. Despite all this wealth, people don't want to live here. Why? Gold particles in the air can damage human lungs within seconds. Money trees don't produce oxygen, and there are no fish in the water because of the emeralds. People simply can't exist there. Hey there! Today we'll be solving cases and mysteries to maintain safety and order. Are you ready to help? Then let's go!
Yeah.
Here's the first task. A group of cyborgs from a different planet arrived on Earth to study humans' behavior. The police are now tracking them down to keep an eye on everything. So they need to identify all the cyborgs, and they need your help to find a couple of cyborgs in disguise. We're in a cafe, where a group of old-school friends met for a reunion. Who is not really human? This lady right here, the one who's eating with a fork and a nail, this cyborg hasn't quite figured out how life on Earth works yet. Great job, but we have more. What about these guys? Do you see anyone suspicious? This guy right here has purple eyes, so my money is on him. Here's a photo one resident made at a local beach. Take a close look. Which individual isn't a real human being? This one right here. Electrical sparks are coming from him. Okay, this is it with our state. The police in other states and countries will deal with their parts. Now some more private issues.
Yeah.
Mr. McGraw is a single father of 3. Last month, he went on a business trip for a couple of days, and his sons stayed home alone. Old enough, but maybe not wise enough, because when Mr. Jones returned home, he found out that someone crashed their car.
Okay, boys, speak now. Who took the car?
But none of the boys admitted it. Tim said, "These 2 days I spent at home studying." Drew said,
I went to see some friends once, but I took the bus.
John said,
I don't even like driving.
"Inspect the car and try to figure out which son is guilty." Look, there's a hoodie left in the car. This is the hoodie John was wearing the day Mr. McGraw left, so he must have caused the accident. This case isn't at all criminal, but someone still needs your help. In a local high school, prom is approaching, and everyone is busy looking for a date. Our main character right here found a note in his locker. Obviously from some fearless girl asking him out, but he can't read the message and doesn't even know who asked him out. Can you help him figure out what's written on the card? It's obviously a cipher, and gladly not the hardest one. Every word is just spelled backwards, so if you put the letters in the normal order, the note will say, "You belong with me. Prom?" There's a name too. It's Juliet. Hopefully our guy will accept the invitation. One of the police stations received a call. A young girl, Allison, reported that her new purple bike, one she saved up for and bought herself, was stolen. Just 1 week after she bought it. The girl asked to help her, and one of the officers was up for the case. She did her research and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Take a look at them and tell which person stole Allison's bike. It's this mean dude. His bike appears black, but he painted it over its real color. Look, here the paint has chipped a little bit, and you can see the original purple color of the bike. A local jewelry store was robbed. Unfortunately, the police couldn't trace the robber. 2 weeks later in the evening, a city detective, Este, received a call from a farm in the suburb saying that they found something. Este arrived at the farm. The farmer said,
I was working in the field and found this message in a bottle. It's a map. It's about that store robbery. Now I look back, I remember that I saw someone in my field 2 weeks ago. It was a full moon, and I saw a silhouette, but I assumed it was an animal.
Este arrested the farmer for further investigation. Why? The story looked legit in the beginning, but then he mentioned the full moon. As you can see, it's a full moon now, so it couldn't be the case 2 weeks ago. That's the moment Este knew that the farmer was making something up. A young aspiring actress went missing on her camping trip. She went to the woods all by herself to prepare for her upcoming role. The first people who saw her, 1 week after she left, were police officers in a police department, where she arrived to report her kidnapping.
I went to prepare for a role and had all the necessary survival equipment. At first, it was all new romantics, but on the third night, I woke up tied up in the dark. It was a man, but I didn't see him. It was dark the whole time. It took me 4 days before I managed to escape. As soon as I was out of the woods, I ran here, to the nearest police department. You need to find him.
The police officer didn't believe her. Why not?
Uh-oh.
The actress says she's just out of the woods, but look at her. She's dressed in style. Her hair looks amazing. That's not what stranded kidnapped people look like, and the detective didn't believe her. A rich young lady was having a party in a VIP club on New Year's Day. Over 200 people were invited. In the middle of the party, the hostess's lover noticed that her diamond earrings went missing.
Oh no!
The police arrived to investigate this delicate case and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Abigail said,
I'd never steal anything.
Stephen said, the earrings are gorgeous. Everyone noticed them, but stealing. Cornelia said,
You need to calm down. I am rich.
who's your prime suspect? Look at Cornelia's purse. It's supposed to be an expensive Hermes purse, but the logo is wrong. So, it's a cheap fake. And there's still a tag on her dress, which isn't really rich. She's just playing along to fit in. Someone robbed a bank in a city, and Detective Este was leading the investigation. It was known that 2 people worked on it, but only one of them was caught, Clyde. Clyde refused to name his partner, so the police had to continue their investigation. After months, they had 3 main suspects, Bonnie, Ivy, and Dorothea. Can you figure out who the other criminal is? It's Bonnie. Look, both Bonnie and Clyde have the same snake tattoo on their wrist, so they must be in the same gang. Now let's take a break and train your eyes a little bit. Long story short, Betty is getting ready for a concert and needs your help finding some stuff in her closet. She's looking for a dress, a cardigan, and a red scarf. Here are the exact pictures to help you find the right item. Can you locate them all? Here's the scarf. That's the dress. And look, the cardigan is right here. Good job! Okay, the second and the last item hunt. This is Betty's bedroom. Can you locate a pair of cowboy boots, heart-shaped sunglasses, and red lipstick? Here they are. Did you find them all? Okay, the last one for today. It was a rainy midnight, and Scarlett was studying late in her college library since the hardest exam of the term was 2 days away. At some point, she left to go to the bathroom and grab a snack from a vending machine. When she returned, she noticed that some of her notes went missing.
Oh no!
Apart from the librarian, there were just 3 more people in the library at that hour, so she asked them about the notes. The first student said, "I don't steal, I worry about karma." The second student said, "I went for a walk outside to clear up my head." The third one said, "I was studying, I don't know anything." Who do you think knows something about Scarlett's notes? It's the second student. He said he took a walk outside, but it was raining. If he really did that, he'd be all wet, but he's not. I know something that will wake your brain up better and faster than coffee. Yep, it's time to find your magnifying glass.
Oh my god.
Look at this picture attentively. What's wrong here? Each of these 4 people has a slice of pizza in their hands, but only 3 pieces are missing from the pizza box. You have 3 jars that are all mislabeled. One jar contains apples, another contains oranges, and the third jar contains a mixture of both apples and oranges. You are allowed to pick as many fruits as you want from each jar to fix the labels on them. What is the minimum number of fruits that you have to pick, and from which jars to correctly label them? Let's look at this scenario. You pick a fruit from the jar labeled apples and oranges, and you get an apple. That means that the jar should be labeled apples. Now, the jar labeled oranges has to be labeled apples and oranges. As it can't contain oranges, and we've already got the apples jar, a similar scenario applies if it's an orange you take out of the jar labeled apples and oranges. So, you just need to take one fruit from the jar, apples and oranges, to label all the jars correctly. A farmer once challenged an engineer, a physicist, and a mathematician to fence off the largest amount of area using the least amount of fence. The engineer shaped his fence like a large circle and said it was the most efficient way. The physicist made a long line and said that fencing off half of Earth was the best. The mathematician laughed at them and showed his design, which beat the others. What did he do? The mathematician made a small circular fence around himself and declared himself to be on the outside. Every day after work, Jack arrived at the train station at 5 p.m. His wife left home in her car to meet him there at exactly 5 p.m., picked him up, and drove him home. One day, Jack got to the station an hour early and started walking home. He was walking until his wife picked him up along the way. They got home 30 minutes earlier than usual. How long was he walking? The best way to think about this problem is to consider it from the perspective of the wife. Her round trip was decreased by 30 minutes, which means each leg of her trip was decreased by 15 minutes. It means that Jack must have been walking for 45 minutes. Logan is a special agent who's trying to catch a notorious villain. After long months of investigation, he finds the criminal's headquarters. But the door is locked, which is not a surprise really. Logan sees a screen next to the entrance. He touches it, and the display lights up. It must be a riddle. And our special agent needs to solve it to get inside. Add one line to make it right. 9.50 equals I-O-I-O-I-O. Logan cracks the puzzle in no time. What's the answer? $9.50 equals I-O-T-O-I-O. The door opens and the man steps into a dark corridor. After walking for some time, Logan notices another door. A code lock again. The man also spots a calendar hanging on the wall. At the bottom, there are several letters, M, F, W. After connecting the dots, the special agent figures out the code. What is it? It's 153. The letters stand for the days of the week: Monday, Friday, and Wednesday. Monday is the first day, Friday is the fifth, and Wednesday is the third one. Look at these two families. Which one is fake? What do you think? Well, the family on the right has weird dietary habits. They allow their son to eat the whole cake on his own. But maybe they just don't care about healthy eating. The family on the left, though, seems to be perfectly fine. But have you spotted a USB port covered by the necklace the mother of the family is wearing? She's a robot, and all this family thing is just a joke. Now, look at these prisoners. Who is more likely to escape? Huh, gotcha. Neither of them. The one on the right will be stopped by the prison guard, while the one on the left will end up face to face with these pretty unfriendly dogs. How about these girls? Which one lacks common sense? That was another tricky question. Both of them aren't the brightest bulbs in the chandelier. The one on the left is going to post a photo of her credit card on her social media. And the one on the right is going to share the details of her ID and plane ticket with her followers. That's incredibly unsafe.
Oh my God!
It was the first day of school when the principal's wallet went missing. There were 3 suspects: the gardener, the math teacher, and the coach.
Oh no!
Here's what they said. The gardener was mowing the front lawn. The math teacher was checking the surprise test he'd given his students. And the coach was meeting new people who wanted to join the school's soccer team. Who took the wallet? It was the math teacher. No one gives surprise tests on the first day of school. Look at these women. Can you figure out which one isn't pregnant? It's the woman on the right. Her belly is strangely shaped, and something seems to be moving under her clothes. Ugh, creepy. One day, the emperor asked his general what he should choose if he was offered either justice or a lot of gold.
I'd choose the gold.
The general answered without hesitation. The emperor was taken aback.
Oh.
I would have been disappointed even if this was the choice of a servant, the emperor said. But coming from you, it's not only disappointing but also shocking and sad. But the general justified his answer to the enraged and hurt emperor without a problem. What did he say? He said that people asked for what they didn't have.
Under your majesty's rule,
He then added,
justice is available to everybody, but I am a spendthrift and always short of money. That's why I said I would choose the gold.
The answer pleased the emperor, and his respect for the general was restored. The police arrived at a ski resort early in the morning. At night, someone attacked the manager of the hotel, and he was taken to a hospital, still unconscious. The police suspected 3 people, Laura, James, and Arthur, who had arrived the day before. The officers inspected their rooms, and here's what they found. Look at these things attentively and try to understand who attacked the manager. It was Arthur. Look, he doesn't have any warm clothing, which means he didn't come for skiing.
Oh no!
Allison is a big boss in an international company. One day, she's hurrying to an important meeting when she notices the documents she needs haven't been printed out, but she's asked at least 3 of her subordinates to do it. Ian says he's just returned from the supermarket because they've run out of coffee beans. Robert claims he's been terribly busy drafting a new contract. And Alice answers she's been in the kitchen preparing snacks and making coffee for the meeting. Who's actually forgotten about the task and is making up excuses at the last moment? It's Alice. There's no coffee in the office. Then how could she make it? Rich businessman Mr. Hudson had a serious disease and was staying at the best hospital in the city. He was treated with pills invented by a scientist working in that hospital. Mr. Hudson was feeling better and better and was getting ready to be discharged. But then, one morning, he was found in critical condition. The police had 4 suspects: the cleaner, the businessman's nurse, his assistant, and the scientist. The cleaner said that Mr. Hudson liked when his room was tidy, so she came every day to clean it. The nurse said that she gave Mr. Hudson's injections every morning, and they had even become friends. The scientist was very upset.
His disease was complicated, but we've made such progress. And today, this happened.
And the assistant answered that her boss asked her to bring his favorite sweets every day. And she did just that. Can you figure out who caused the worsening of Mr. Hudson's condition? It was the nurse. Mr. Hudson was treated with special pills. What injections is she talking about?
What?
Harrison was walking home when someone threw something at him and knocked the guy out. When he came round, he found himself in a room with 4 doors and a tiny window. Harrison opened the window, but it was too small for him to squeeze through. Suddenly, the guy spotted a piece of paper lying on the floor. It was a note that said, "Only one door leads outside. The other 3 doors don't lead anywhere. You can try to open just one door and only once. If you don't succeed, all of them will be locked forever." Harrison thought for a while and made the right choice. How did he figure out which door was the one he needed? He opened the window. This created a draft. The guy checked the keyholes and felt some cool air coming from one of them. It was the door to freedom. Detective Sheldon Copper was resting at a beach resort when an unpleasant accident happened there. Someone pushed elderly Mrs. Stevenson into the swimming pool when there was no one around. But this someone didn't know the lady was once the best swimmer at her university, and she never stopped practicing. So it wasn't difficult for her to cross the swimming pool and get out of it at the other side. Sheldon asked the lady if she had seen the attacker. She didn't, but she was sure it was someone who knew she'd just received a huge inheritance. The detective needed to talk to 3 people. They were Mrs. Stevenson's son, Terry, her granddaughter, Gloria, and her niece, Judy. Terry said, "These days, I've been very busy. Something urgent came up at work. I don't even have time to leave my room to go for breakfast or dinner." Gloria asked Sheldon to keep her secret. She was seeing a waiter she had met at a beach cafe. If her relatives found out, they would be furious. And Judy told Sheldon she'd taken a car to go shopping in the city center. Who's lying? Terry. The man looks sunburned. But how can it be if he hasn't left his room for days? Jaden bought a beautiful ring for his girlfriend. He wanted to propose to her at the weekend. He left the ring on his desk at home and went to work. But when he got back in the evening, he didn't find the ring. Only his 3 sisters were at home that day, and none of them liked his girlfriend. He went to question each of them. Mia was in her room. She said she'd spent the whole day there painting the walls. Emily was in the kitchen. She answered that she'd been cooking a birthday cake for her friend. And the youngest, Nora, was in the garden. She said she'd been planting roses. It didn't take Jaden long to figure out who had taken the ring. Do you know who it was? It was Nora. She looks too tidy for a person who was supposedly spending the entire day in the garden.
What?
Plus, she doesn't have any gardening tools. The best player of Julian's volleyball team disappeared right before the game. Julian's main suspects were 3 players from the rival team. Jackson said, "I've just returned from the gym. I was warming up before the competition." Leo had to pick up his wife and daughter from the hospital, and Ryan claimed he'd fractured his leg. And the team doctor was giving him a massage. Who's behind the player's disappearance? It's Ryan. Getting a massage when your leg is broken? Really? Can you figure out the answer to this rebus riddle? The answer is summary.